Welcome to the 2015 Under Armour High School All-America Game, presented by American Family Insurance. We are at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, where more than 100 of the most highly sought-after high school prospects will take the field tonight. Not only great action, but also big announcements. A half dozen verbal commitments will be made tonight over the next few hours, beginning with Ronald Jones II, number 56 prospect, top 5 running back. You see the position rankings. You see the schools they're considering. One of the top corners in the land, Kendall Sheffield. One of the top defensive tackles, Tim Settle. Tyron Johnson at wideout. Deron Payne, defensive tackle. And Anthony Wheeler, inside linebacker. And welcome. Thanks again for joining us for the 2015 Under Armour High School All-America Game. I'm Matt Schick. With the advent of the college football playoff, the interest in college football is at an all-time high. And if you're a fan of the game itself, these next few hours are just for you. Some of the best high school talent in the nation will be playing on this very field right behind me. Usually at this point, we kick the game off and have an announcement beginning in the first quarter. Not tonight. We're going to kick off the game with a big announcement. Ronald Jones II, top 5 running back in our ESPN 300, has whittled his list down to 2 schools, Notre Dame and USC. Ronald, what's it going to be?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank God, my family, my beautiful mother, my coaches, and my mentors back at home. But without further ado, I'll be taking my talents to USC. Right on, baby. I'm Trojan.
That was an Under Armour player announcement. Ronald Jones II heading to Southern Cal. What was it about USC, Ronald?
Well, I really believe in Coach Sark's vision for the team, not only for myself, and also Coach Helton and Coach Nansen, that we're going to get this national championship now. So let's do it. Fight on, baby.
A month away from signing day, he will become the first top 5 running back to sign with USC in 8 years. Again, Ronald Jones II is the first to announce.
The future is not a guarantee. It is not promised. It is not a privilege. The future is not a reality. The future is not the hype. The future
is me.
This is a tremendous athlete.
He's a premium player at a premium position.
It's a glimpse into the future of college football.
Turns on the Jets. Touchdown.
The future, the future,
the future,
the future,
the future is me.
Can you get me to the NFL?
Who's that next guy to make an impact?
The 2015 Under Armour All-America Game starts now.
Welcome into the 2015 Under Armour High School All-America Game presented by American Family Insurance from Tropicana Field in St. Pete. And we've already had some folks in Los Angeles who are pretty happy. Ronald Jones II on his way to USC. Here at the Trop, we'll have 5 more announcements coming up today. 99 of the top 300 players in the country are here. Our recruiting brain trust is here as well. National Director Tom Luganville, National Coordinator Craig Hawbert, along Jason Benetti with you. And Tom, this is the culmination of a week where guys are really getting to know what their class is like, learning about themselves, right?
Yeah, that's what you find out this week is who can stack up and who has a real good idea and feel for what's coming at the next level. You take players like Byron Cowart, our number 2 ranked overall player in the class, comes in with high aspirations, high expectations, and a lot of hype. So everybody's looking to see how he'll perform. He's taken that pressure upon himself. He's owned it. He's had a fantastic week. For me, it's all about how do players perform when things aren't easy, when they get challenged for the first time. This week is a great barometer for what they're going to experience once they get to the next level.
And if history is any suggestion, these guys are going to college and the NFL, Craig.
Jason, the Under Armour All-America Game is an exciting look into the future of the great game of football. The impressive list of alumni stretches all the way back to 2008, the very first year with players like current Atlanta Falcon Julio Jones. If you go back, there's a #1 overall NFL draft pick in Jadeveon Clowney that took part in 2011. 2 of the last 3 Fred Biletnikoff winners have played in this game, including Alabama's Amari Cooper. The last 4 years, at least one finalist for the Heisman Trophy played in this game, including the winner a year ago, Jameis Winston. And even the first college football playoff national championship will include some Under Armour All-America alum, like we just saw, the relentless Joey Bosa.
Ohio State with that big win late last night over Alabama will take on Oregon. We'll see an Oregon commit as well in this game in Canton Kalmatule, the defensive end. And Team Armour will have the ball first on the opening kickoff. Team Armour is in black, Team Highlight is in white, and Team Armour will have the ball coming up first on that kick return by Paul Lucas. Here's some of the rules of the game. Key differences between regular football, regulation play, no blitzing, the 4-man front, no motion as well, and 15-minute quarters rather than the 12 in your typical high school football game.
You know, Jason, what you want to make sure you can do is execute on game day. When you only have 3.5 days of practice, you don't have a lot of time to gel, particularly within the offensive and defensive front. Keep things simple, allow the kids to flourish and use their talent.
Opening quarterback is Brandon Wimbush, the Notre Dame commit. And he's going to hand it off to Nick Brissett, the LSU verbal. Actually make that Jacquez Patrick getting the start rather than Brissett. And he has the opening carry, second down coming up. Head coach on Team Highlight sideline is Herm Edwards, the longtime NFL head coach, and our colleague and Steve Mariucci over on the other side heading up Team Armour once again. 2 very experienced head coaches.
The defensive lines have an advantage in this setting as they can kind of pin their ears back and get upfield.
Quick throw to Marcus Lodge with the grab, the uncommitted wide receiver, number 47 in the ESPN 300.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lodge may be one of the most dynamic playmakers when it comes to going up and grabbing the football out of the air in contested matchups. You saw him right there on the underneath route, a nice little confidence throw for Brandon Wimbush, the Notre Dame verbal commitment. Get him into a rhythm, get him in a third and manageable situation here for Team Armour.
How do you beat a rush? Get rid of the football
quickly. Get rid of the ball, absolutely.
Jacquez Patrick on the carry, and he's stacked up that defensive line. Christian Wilkins, number 81 in the ESPN 300, still up for grabs as well, college-wise.
Christian Wilkins has been one of those guys who's been very quiet throughout the recruiting process, but it's really impressed this week as you see the penetration he was able to get. He has really impressed among maybe the best group of defensive tackles we've ever had in this game, Tom.
Punt time for Team Armour and Austin Seibert at our first whistle at 13:07.
Prior to the snap, false start, defense, 5-yard penalty, results in a first down.
Looks like there was a communication from Team Highlight there on defense. They did not have a defender lined up on the receiver at the top of your screen, who was actually the offender there, Tyron Johnson, in the false start on offense. It's going to back up Team Armour here. And this is an area, too, where you always worry as a coaching staff, Coach Mariucci, Coach Edwards, getting the kicking game in order in a short period of time. You've got great specialists here. Can you protect them and can you set up a return?
Seibert, the Oklahoma commit, the punter for Team Armour, hangs it high. And Dalen Charlotte on the return. Nifty moves for Charlotte across the 40-yard line, and he stumbles to the deck at the 32. The turf monster got him after a 37-yard return.
Yeah, he got a crease, and it's what a lot of these athletes, once you give them some room to run, they turn on the jets. You're going to see him, a nice move right away, gets upfield, and then, as you mentioned, Jason.
Oh, Willie Whiteline got him.
The Armour defense got an assist.
All right, Team Highlight's going to hit it up now.
And we'll see Blake Barnett, the Alabama commit, number 14 in the ESPN 300, the number 1 pocket passer in the country, steering the offense. Damian Harris, the uncommitted running back with the carry out of the state of Kentucky, gain of 6 for him.
Damian Harris and Blake Barnett, that's a dynamic duo in the backfield, because Blake Barnett might be our number 1 ranked pocket passer, but he's also a deceptively good athlete. And when you see Blake Barnett, when things break down, that's where you're going to see him make some plays that, from a stature standpoint, you see him at 6'5", 200, you may not think he's capable of making.
We saw him run the read option a little bit in practice during the week, and there he goes, taking off. Barnett puts the head down right into Kevin Tolliver, and a short gain for Barnett, but there are the wheels.
I'm sure a lot of fans in Tuscaloosa were wishing he would slide as he took some shots right there, but he shows his toughness. You're right, Tom. Pocket passer, it could be a deceptive term. That does not mean you are unable to make plays outside the pocket. With his passing skills, that's where his strength is making plays from the pocket.
Do you see how quickly the gap closed there? At the high school level, he's turned the corner. Those days are over.
Barnett on third down has a hook up to Devontae Phillips, who just committed in front of you, Tom Luganville, the other day to Florida State.
He certainly did during our practices, and Florida State licking their wounds today after a loss to Oregon in the college football playoff semifinal last night, adding to an already youthful group at the wide receiver position. Both Ermon Lane and Travis Rudolph for the Seminoles played in this game a year ago. Devontae Phillips, a nice addition to the Seminoles receiving corps.
One of his teammates on Team Highlight is George Campbell, also a Florida State Verbal.
This is Damian Harris on the run. And Adonis Thomas, the outside linebacker, and Alabama future teammate of Blake Barnett with the tackle, second down.
Yeah, they pulled big Richie Pettibon, another Alabama Verbal commit, around to the right. And he was able to just get enough of the penetrating defender, allowed Harris to get to the corner. As you mentioned, Tom, you see big Pettibon coming around. A lot of these running backs, they got that great step. If they just get that little bit of opening, They can create some positive yards.
And a little early movement on the line. That was big Dalen Mack. And you can see him coming if you're a lineman.
Impressive, but early.
False start. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Replay second down.
Craig, you've been really impressed with Dalen Mack.
Well, he's got such a powerful build. He lacks ideal height. He's like a powder keg. I mean, he is low to the ground, low center of gravity, and when he keeps his pads down, he is almost impossible to move. And odds are he's going to knock the offensive lineman back on his heels.
Rex Norris, the defensive coordinator for Team Armour, has coached in the NFL for close to 40 years as a defensive line coach. Says he reminds him of Jerry Ball.
It's a great NFL name to be compared to. Damian Harris again finds his way to the 11-yard line. Third down coming up.
Now watch Dalen Mack this time. He got off on the snap of the football, and he did the same exact thing. He drove the offensive lineman right back. It's coming right down the middle. So much so that it almost disrupted the play as he was going against big number 66, Toby Weathersby. And it's difficult for any offensive lineman because if you don't stay low against a guy with a low center of gravity and that much power, that's going to happen a lot.
Especially as you guys were talking about, maybe the best defensive line prop that you've seen in this game ever. Third down for Barnett to throw, and he has it batted down at the line.
Big Deron Payne got his hands up. He's going to be announcing a little bit later today. Always interesting when somebody picks between in-state rivals, between Alabama and Auburn. You see him. That's a great job. As a defensive lineman, you are taught if you cannot get to the quarterback, then get your hands up because a batted pass is just as good as a sack.
He's really made his mark right as a run stuffer more than anything.
What he really has made his mark is you look how big he is. He's 340 pounds, and he carries his weight very well, and he can be a space eater, but has deceptive quickness for how big he is.
The Notre Dame commit, Justin Yoon, on for a field goal, but a flag first.
Got some antsy jitters here with both teams so far, particularly in the
Prior
trenches.
to the snap. False start. Offense. 5-yard penalty, still fourth down.
Got to iron that stuff out and iron out the kinks, get those jitters out of you, those butterflies out of your stomach, start playing some football.
That's a Florida State commit. Abdul Bello causing trouble for the Notre Dame kicker. Florida State and Notre Dame getting involved early on in this game. And now a 32-yard field goal for Yoon. And he's got it. So Team Highlight is on the board on its opening drive, 3-0 here in the 2015 Under Armour All-America game. The Under Armour All-America football game presented by American Family Insurance is brought to you by Under Armour, I Will, and by American Family Insurance. Your dream is out there. Go get it. We'll protect it. More than 1,000 family members and friends joined the Under Armour All-Americans last night at the Orlando Hyatt for the 4th annual jersey presentation ceremony. Matt Schick hosted the festivities, joined by Herm Edwards and Steve Mariucci. Each player got his Under Armour All-America game jersey, and Tom lost his job as the MC of the event, all in one fell swoop last night.
Yeah, I've been Wally pipped. I can't be two places at once there, Jason.
Sorry about it. We'll try and get you back in a couple years. 8th year of the game here at the Under Armour All-America game. 99 of the top 300. Alabama, you're licking your wounds in Tuscaloosa right now, but 11 Under Armour commits are coming to your school and 38 to the SEC.
And in the mix for a few more potentially today among our announcements, 5 left.
On the return, Christian Kirk for Team Armour to the 35-yard line. The Texas A&M commit, Kendall Sheffield, who will be committing in this game with the tackle on the kick return. So first down coming up for Team Armour.
Christian Kirk, a very versatile prospect, arguably pound per pound, maybe one of the best athletes in this entire class. I say the same thing about Auburn verbal commitment, Kerryon Johnson. Christian Kirk, verbally committed to A&M, Jason, as you mentioned, could play as a slot, could play as a scat back, could play as a true tailback, even split him out wide. Perfect for that offense there in College Station.
There's Brandon Wimbush, the number 2 dual threat quarterback, to throw, and that's a dart to the outside to Alex Afadale, the Oregon commit. But how about the arm on Wimbush?
He's got one of the strongest arms in his class, and you and I, Jason, did the skills challenge the other day. He was hitting targets crossing the field, and every time he hit one, it was thud, thud. I mean, that thing really just rockets off his hand.
Everywhere he has performed, whether it's been in camp and combine settings, whether it's been at St. Peter's Prep with his ball club, he has performed to a standard that's been excellent. He's done the same thing all week here.
On the ground, Nick Brissett, the LSU commit, and when you see an LSU running back in this game, you think of Leonard Fournette and what he did last year.
You talked about it a little bit earlier, though, Tom. They went with a draw, and there was a seam there. Then Anthony Willer, number 7, got downhill, and it closed very quickly. The speed of the game, I think this is what all these players, now that they're together with the type of competition that they're going to face at the college level, whether it be the SEC, the ACC, the Pac-12, etc., they're learning how fast the game is going to become for them.
So third down for Wimbush. Quick drop again and incomplete. Close coverage by Sean Crawford over on the outside, who had a pretty nice week of practice.
Sean Crawford came on board after we had an injury, jumped in, and you talk about belonging. He was competitive, loved to mix it up. He stood out within the defensive secondary amongst a group featuring Iman Marshall, Kendall Sheffield, Kevin Tolliver II, a really good group of corners this year.
Even though he's undersized, really goes out there and battles, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Second kick for Seibert, and a fair catch for Dalen Charlotte. Coming up soon, we'll hear another commitment from a defensive lineman.
What's up, everyone? This is Tim Settle, 4th-ranked defensive tackle in the ESPN 300. When you come back, I'll be picking the school I'll be committing to.
Welcome back to the 2015 Under Armour All-America game. It's time for another announcement. Number 17 ranked player in the ESPN 300, our number 4 ranked defensive tackle, Tim Settle, about to make his college choice. And with that, here's our match check.
All right, time now for another Under Armour verbal commitment. You said it. It's a big man, Tim Settle, defensive tackle, top 20 prospect, catching his breath from taking part in the first quarter action. All right, Tim, where are you headed?
It's been a long process. I want to thank God first, my family and friends, all the coaches, and my trainer to come help me prepare to come out here at Raymond, Washington. But the college I plan on going to for the next 4 years is Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, Bud Foster's defense getting a good one. Why Virginia Tech?
They've been there forever, and I have a great opportunity to come in here as a freshman to impact.
We saw you this week doing a little kickoff return coverage. Would you like to do that in Blacksburg?
No.
Congratulations on your announcement, Tim.
Thank you.
Highest rated D lineman to commit to Virginia Tech since ESPN started ranking prospects in 2006. Guys.
Matt, an in-state commitment remains on the defensive line for Frank Beamer.
This is a huge pickup for the Hokies. First off, because impact defensive linemen are not easy to find. You saw the size that Tim Settle has. If he can manage and maximize that bulk that he carries on his frame, he's got very good quickness for how big he is. He's strong, and you see the ability to make plays at the line of scrimmage. And then plus for Virginia Tech, the state of Virginia has really been loaded along the defensive line in recent years. And you see those names, Andrew Brown, Deshaun Ham, but look to the right-hand column. Virginia, Alabama, a lot of those guys have gotten away from the Hokies. Here with Tim Settle, they were able to keep one close to home.
And a defense that could really use the pep in its step after a rough year in Blacksburg defensively, as this one falls incomplete for Hale Henches, the #2 tight end Y in the country out of the state of Missouri. Second down coming up.
Yeah, that was a ball that should have been caught. Good rhythm on the little option route, about 5-6 yards. Working up on the linebacker there for Team Armour. Hale Henches, his best attribute is to catch the football. That's where he's at his best. He'd like to have that one back. So far, seeing a lot of accuracy from quarterback Blake Barnett here for Team Highlight.
On the read option, there's Barnett going again to the 31. And as we talked about, he can move some.
Absolutely. We've seen him throughout the week in the practices, run the zone read, show off that athleticism. And it was a nice read because, once again, we've talked about number 34, Daylon Mack. He eventually came back and made the play. But had he given the ball to the running back, it would have been a loss there. At least he was able to create some positive yardage.
It was a good read by Blake Barnett there on taking the unblocked defender and keying off of him.
He's got a completion on third down to the outside, and that's Equanimous St. Brown at 6'5", a good frame for a wide receiver.
Big 6'5", tall guy that can really run. That's the one thing about the 2015 class in terms of receivers. It's an eclectic group. You've got tall guys that can run. You've got short guys that are great in space. You've got taller guys that are bigger that maybe don't run great but are great in the red zone. So it's been a fun group between Team Highlight and Team Armour here this week. Lots of explosive playmakers.
It's a pretty eclectic guy, too. Has lived in Paris, knows 3 languages. St. Brown. Barnett with the wheels finds his way out of bounds, much to the excitement of Nick Saban watching somewhere. Gain of 4.
They showed a nice job there of being able to create some positive yards. And what we've seen some of the defensive tackles, especially Daylon Mack and Deron Payne, create some problems. But on that play, the defensive ends got upfield, and some of those interior offensive linemen were able to hold the middle to allow a crease for Barnett to get upfield.
What these quarterbacks are finding out is real quickly you're going to have pressure on the edge and upfield, so you better have some pocket patience and some movement to get the ball out of your hand.
It's Ronald Jones, the second, who just committed earlier to USC, and away he goes. Jones is gone. 58 yards for our opening touchdown.
Well, Trojan fans, you want to know what you got? Here's a little bit of a glimpse at an outstanding move on number 5, Jordan Colbert, the Auburn verbal commit. And then you see that second gear. Of all the running backs we've had here this week, Ronald Jones, the second, arguably has shown the biggest playmaking ability of that group.
He reminds me when he came out of high school of what DeMarco Murray looked like out of Bishop Gorman. Tall, great burst, long stride, top end speed, had enough power to lower the shoulder. You know, it's interesting. The perimeter blocking there for Team Highlight and the patience shown by Ronald Jones. It's just not all flash. Good instincts and feel for the hole and when to put your foot in the ground to get upfield.
Extra point is good for Yoon. Jones created separation down the field with 6:18 to go in the first. Ronald Jones the second has Team Highlight with a 10-0 lead. He committed earlier, and he's in the end zone now. Ronald Jones the second. with a nearly 60-yard touchdown run. And he did finish the run, a 10-0 lead for Team Highlight.
He has exhibited outstanding vision throughout the week. You talked about the patience, and that's one of those things I think a lot of high school running backs, Tom, transitioning from high school level to college is the patience, to follow your blocks, to find a seam, to not always try to force it in there when something may not be there. And I think with Jones, he has exhibited that patience and vision. And when he gets a seam, watch out. And we also saw a little bit of that ability to make you miss. You're right, he's long, a little bit high cut.
Right.
Maybe not a ton of shake, but he's got just enough agility to make a move.
I'm impressed with Team Highlight's ability to establish the run early, which generally in an all-star game setting, very difficult to do because the offensive line, they're at such a disadvantage. They're getting a push, doing a nice job. Backs are doing a good job as well for Team Highlight.
See if Team Armour can get on the board. Couple of explosive guys back there on the return. Tyron Johnson, the wide receiver, is just lit up down the field. My goodness. Iman Marshall on the kick coverage, just a 12-yard return. And by the way, over on the sideline, our coaches are mic'd up. Let's check in with Steve Mariucci.
Here, wave to the crowd. Let's get ready to rumble. I know sometimes you defer, we don't defer, right? We want the ball. All right, so I got to watch my language, Prime, because I'm mic'd up. I got to watch my language. It's hard. Black, black, black. In high school, we lost every coin flip. Every one. We were 0-10. How do you do that? I don't know.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Win a game, win.
We won a lot of games. We just didn't win coin flips.
How do you do that? I mean, you got a 50% chance. Steve Mariucci, always a pleasure to hear from him over on the sideline.
It's a lot of fun for the kids. I think that's the thing that stands out.
I won the ball at half court. Let's start 1st and 10, half court.
He thinks it's make it, take it.
Yeah.
Here in the Under Armour All-America game.
An offsides on the kicking team, I believe. They're talking over where he wants the ball.
Kick it
placed.
again. Let's get a return. Let's kick it again. Yeah, but change their personnel.
There's Kyler Murray, you see. He's going to be taken over at the quarterback spot after the first two series went with Brandon Wimbush. Wimbush completed a couple of balls, the Notre Dame dribble commit. Couldn't convert third downs. You're going to see what Kyler Murray, who has had, I would say, the most storied, prolific high school career that you could ever ask of any quarterback ever. Three-time state champion, never lost a game. Our #1 ranked dual threat quarterback. This is a player that's had a remarkable career. A lot of people are expecting it to continue at the next level.
He's an All-American in 2 sports, not only taking part here at an Under Armour All-America football game, but he accomplished the same thing in baseball as well.
Barely made it to Wrigley Field for the Under Armour All-America baseball game, but Luke, you were mentioning it, 43-0 in your high school career.
And you talk to other coaches. Now, take a look at his stature. You say 5'11", 178. So the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, you know, he's probably going to be a guy that's going to have to shift to another position. That's not going to be the case. This is a quarterback who happens to be an athlete with a great sense of timing, anticipation, and he's got eyes in the back of his head when things break down and can play within the structure of the pocket. But then when that breaks down, look out, because now you've got some real mismatch problems on your hands.
Does an outstanding job on the move. Really throws well when he's scrambling.
Al! 18's a defensive end! No, Al! He's a defensive end, Al!
Herm's up 10-0, but you wouldn't know it.
Well, as we talked about with some of the rules in relationship to defense also apply to the kicking game so that you can keep things simplified. Apparently Herm Edwards doesn't think that the personnel is correct.
He was talking about Braden Fiocco.
Yep.
Braden Fiocco wears number 18, but he looks nothing like a defensive end. He just got a skill guide number. That is a big boy, yeah. He could certainly pass as an interior player, which he is. Texas Tech verbal commit.
It's Eric Glover Williams on the return, the defensive back for his first return. The Ohio State commit lost the ball, and they will blow it dead. Iman Marshall dislodged it, and the #2 player in the country would have had a touchdown, Byron Coward.
Looked a little bit like the last night in the first college football playoff series with Ohio State when Steve Martin scooped up that ball.
Certainly did.
Former Under Armour All-American,
Yeah.
as you see, Byron Cowart coming here. Steve Miller.
Steve Martin.
That's right. I didn't see an arrow.
Yeah, that's right.
He could do the King Tut bit if you'd
Oh,
like
I'll
him
tell
to.
you what, Eric Glover-Williams, he's got to be an excited Buckeye. He's got to hold on to the football right there. Gets the kick return. Coming off of a big win last night for the Big Ten for Ohio State into the College Football Playoff National Champion. I bet in that Players Lounge last night, there was a lot of talking going on, but only one person was doing it, and that was him.
Big week for the Big Ten. Michigan State with a comeback win, and Jim Harbaugh on his way to Michigan as So-So Jamabo is in the backfield, and he's got his first carry, the number 28 player in the country and the top running back.
You know, Jamabo's an interesting case because he was essentially a receiver mostly as a sophomore and junior, ended up emerging as a running back as a senior, so he's kind of brought into this game as an athlete, a slot receiver. He's worked at both spots throughout the week. That type of offensive versatility, you can really line him up wherever you want to on the field. You see him there considering both UCLA and Notre Dame as finalists.
Kyler Murray running the offense, and we'll see his speed on display. Murray slicing through into plus territory down to the 40 and tackled by the top safety, Derwin James, 21 yards downfield.
What can't So-So Jamabo do? He can run with the football. He can catch it. He's going to lead with a little bit of a block there. Help create a lane for Murray.
Boy, did they need that explosive play there for Team Armour there in black with the black helmets. See Kyler Murray's strengths. Very athletic. You saw that. Accurate. Good arm strength. He needs to add strength to his frame because he's not an ideal measurables guy, so you want to make sure you protect your durability.
That's our Under Armour scouting report on Kyler Murray. Under some pressure from Cowart, and down he goes. Sacked by Christian Wilkins, the number 11 defensive tackle.
And that sack was produced by the edge pressure from first Byron Cowart. Then you're going to see Arden Key coming to the pitcher, forces Murray to step up, and there is Christian Wilkins coming up the middle to finish it off.
So you get a big play out of the offense there for Team Armour. Once again, Team Armour in the black, team highlight with the white uniform and the blue helmet, but now you're negated. You got a second and long situation. They don't need to get greedy here. Just get some of this back so you can have a manageable third down situation.
Murray to throw, goes screen, and Jamabo couldn't hang on. He got decked. Giovanni Simmons and Arden Key there together. We've seen Key, 2 strong plays in a row.
Yeah, tried to set up the screen. The ball was bobbled, and Arden Key, number 17, South Carolina verbal commit. You're going to watch him close. He's going to come just darting into your screen, and he's going to end up breaking that up.
Now, I think that Team Armour here and Kyler Murray need to take a shot downfield. You got a single high safety in the middle of the field, one-on-one on the perimeter. Right now, you're not executing as clean as team highlight. Let's take a shot and get the ball downfield.
He's rolling to the side where DeMarcus Lodge is. Murray on the throw and a little bit too high, maybe an incomplete for Lodge, who's so good, Tom, as you were talking about earlier, high pointing the ball.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic of DeMarcus Lodge right there. And this is a great Houdini act by Kyler Murray, getting out of the pocket. Watch him keep his eyes downfield. Patient, throws an accurate ball, hits him right in the face mask, Craig. You got to make that play.
One thing Kyler Murray does really well on the move is he always squares up his shoulders.
Yes.
His technique, his mechanics are very good when he is on the move. And as you mentioned, delivered a very catchable ball that usually DeMarcus Lodge comes down with 9 out of 10 times.
You see Dalen Charlotte and Calvin Ridley, the top wide receiver in the country, the Alabama commit. Seibert's punt, his third. And Charlotte's going to give it a run from inside the end zone. Couple of sleek moves and out of bounds across the 10. We're talking about the Big Ten. Here's what's gone down at Michigan. Jim Harbaugh, now the head coach, but you debut at 23, fall to 38, drop out of the top 40. What's next, guys? What's the next point on that graph?
In-home visits for Jim Harbaugh and getting out on the road, getting past this recruiting dead period where only phone calls are permissible, allowing Michigan and Jim Harbaugh put his staff together and then get out in January and try. Hey, listen, Jim Harbaugh is not going to be judged upon this recruiting class, but he's got to put some type of exclamation point on it and finish it out.
Only 6 commits, 1 taking part today. Brian Cole, defensive back for team highlight.
DeAndre Francois is in at quarterback. Damian Harris with the run, and that's bottled up immediately by Jalen Dalton, the UNC commit.
Phenomenal job by number 43, Jalen Dalton. Tall, lean, athletic defender. He's going to set the edge. Does a nice job coming off the ball, shooting his hands, creating some separation, and once the running back tried to bounce it to the outside, he was able to disengage and make the play.
Now, Team Armour in black here needs to make a stop on defense. They've got a field position advantage right here. A new quarterback for Team Highlight, DeAndre Francois, the Florida State verbal commitment. Let's see if he can move the football.
One of 3 Florida State quarterback commits in this game, and he's now 1 for 1 as he hits John Burt, the Texas commit, on the outside for a gain of 4.
Kerryon Johnson, the Auburn verbal commit. Micah Abernathy, committed to Tennessee, both in the secondary for the Armour defense. Were quickly there, though, to make the tackle.
Tennessee's having a really nice recruiting class, really hitting on the positions of need. Defensive secondary, defensive line for the 2nd year in the row for Butch Jones and his group there on Rocky Top. And that one-on-one matchup out there between Burt, the Texas verbal commitment, and Abernathy, that was a heated, contested matchup throughout the week.
So 3rd down at 6 for Team Highlight, which has a 58-yard touchdown for Ronald Jones, the 2nd. Francois loads up a deep ball. And he's got it. George Campbell, Seminole to Seminole on the hit, all the way downfield. It's a gain of 60.
And that is what the Florida State Seminole commit does best. He is a speedster. He is a legit 4-4 kid, a vertical threat. You see a nice job looking the ball in and making the catch. There's good coverage there by Micah Abernathy, but trying to keep up with George Campbell, who uses his hands well to create some separation. And the nice ball delivered by DeAndre Francois.
Really well thrown football. You know, we've been to so many camps and combines where we've seen this guy run laser time. He falls out of bed and runs sub 4.4 at over 6'4", over 200 pounds. He's raw, but there are a lot of tools to mold here for Florida State. This is a really impressive play there by the big guy.
Plays rush defensive end in high school too, Campbell. He's on the outside on 1st down for Francois. Little touch this time, and he's got it to Garrett Williams, the Clemson commit, the tight end, on a 24-yard touchdown.
And that's a big moment for Garrett Williams. He is a Florida product just outside of Orlando. He comes from an offense, a wing T version offense, rarely gets to catch the football throughout the recruiting process, really didn't get to showcase those hands. We see the big man, the tight end, reach out and snag it for 6.
See how calm and poised DeAndre Francois was on those last 2 throws. And then you're right, I like to see Big Garrett here get something going in the passing game, because he just played an offensive scheme that didn't accentuate that skill set. Doesn't mean he doesn't have it, just makes it more difficult to evaluate.
So 17-0 your score. And don't forget, it's number 2 and number 4 in the College Football Playoff National Championship. Ohio State and Oregon remaining. Coverage starts Monday, January 12th, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. And again, Oregon's not a flashy numbers school, 19 in the class rank, but they're in the national championship.
Well, there's no one right way to recruit. Obviously, when you have top 5 classes, consistently gives you a chance to be a consistent competitor in a national championship race. But Oregon has done things a little bit different. And also remember, we still got a month to National Signing Day. And sometimes things out west come together a little bit slower. And recruiting things on a recruiting trail amongst Pac-12 teams can certainly heat up here over the next few weeks.
I think it's going to be a fun matchup, a lot of fun. Ohio State's done such a remarkable job. You see Canton Kamatulea, the big defensive end. That's really the one, I think, true piece of the puzzle. If you're an Oregon fan and you're looking at the premier teams up front in college football and you want to continue to make strides on defense, it's guys like Canton and adding that depth with that type of prowess that are going to get you there. And Oregon's had tremendous success recruiting the Islands.
Got rave reviews too.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a wonderful combination of size, power, and quickness for how big he is.
Christian Kirk from the 9 for Team Armour in a big deficit early on. And great kick coverage again for Team Highlight. Herm Edwards coaching up the special teams, huh?
Yeah, right now, Team Armour needs to get something going here, get some rhythm, sustain a drive. They had great field position right there, and then on defense, give up the big, long throw from DeAndre Francois to Big Williams there. But now, let's see what this team can do. See if they can manufacture some big, explosive plays.
Kyler Murray gets a second series. The Texas A&M verbal commit had that strong run on the last series for Team Armour. He's joined by Jaquez Patrick, the Florida State commit running back. Patrick gets the carry and goes through the wash. That defensive line has been so strong. That's Byron Cowart in on the play.
They're coming right off the edge, and you want to talk about a guy who has created a buzz throughout the week. That's the #2 overall player in the ESPN 300, Byron Cowart. From the moment he showed up at registration walking around with a Chucky doll from Child's Play, he has had attention on him, but it's just not a gimmick. He stepped on the field, high motor, intense, really studies the game, uses his hands well, and that one we saw a great burst off the ball, being able to make a play in the backfield.
Why do you have a Chucky doll, Byron? Because it reminds me to be violent.
As though he needs the reminder, right?
Those people just higher strength.
Murray has to go track this down and flop on it just outside the end zone, it looked like. And they will give him the 2-yard line. It's a 20-yard loss.
Snap a little bit off target. That was Tyler Jordan, the Florida verbal commit. A little bit to the left and low of Murray. And one of the things in an all-star setting, sometimes a quarterback center exchange, the snaps, difficult coming together. That hasn't been a problem this week. A little interesting to see it now show up in the game.
99 of the top 300 players in the country in high school football, and it's been all one side. Team highlight, Ronald Jones II announced where he was going and then took off for LA. 17-0 your score in the 2015 Under Armour High School All-America game. Time for our Under Armour flashback. Just a year ago when Leonard Fournette took over this game.
He's the #1 overall player in the ESPN 300. A big back, excellent power, but home run speed. And you see some of the damage he was able to do a year ago. And came into college to LSU with huge expectations. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but then you saw what he can do in the bowl game, even though in a losing effort against Notre Dame. And Tommy, some of these impact freshmen in college football.
Right.
One of my favorites, Cam Robinson, starting left tackle at Alabama. Last guy to do that was Andre Smith.
Well, how about Adoree Jackson at USC and the bowl game performance that he had in a win versus Nebraska? Offense, defense, kicking game. And then Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette. We've mentioned some of the other impact players like Travis Rudolph from a year ago, Malachi Dupree at LSU, Ermon Lane. There's Abdul Bello right there, Craig. Early impact meter, not as high, but why?
This is only his second year playing football. He's a native of Nigeria, really just still learning the game. But I mean, this is a big man, 6'6", 293 pounds, outstanding length, good agility. It's just about continuing to build that technique. And what I've really liked about Bello throughout the week, Jason, was he's hungry. Before practice, after practice, during water breaks, you could always find him near the O-line coach, asking questions, wanting to get better. That upside for him is huge. It may be a 6 now, but that impact meter in 2-3 years could be a 9 or a 10.
Sure.
When you're talking about a 10 on the early impact meter, you're talking about almost a guarantee you come in and play immediately?
Absolutely. Think about a Vernon Hargraves 2 years ago at Florida. All SEC as a true freshman. Think about it. A Cam Robinson starting at left tackle for a potential national championship contender when the season started.
That's Braden Fihoko getting involved over on the sideline. A little conversation post-play. Arden Key along with Maya Tehema, the LSU commit.
Now, one of the things I've noticed, Jason and Craig, that when these quarterbacks, particularly for Team Armour here in black, have had to scramble, get on the move, the wide receivers have not done a good job of either getting deep or coming back to the ball and providing the mobile quarterback that's out of the pocket some options on the move.
Go. Now, not a lot of room here to get this punt off.
Seibert does get it away. And it's dropped by Charlotte. He picks it back up and now has some space. Dalen Charlotte picks up a block, and he may go. He scores! The number 8 wide receiver goes 54 yards.
And Charlotte showing his ability as a returner. And really, this is just a mix of outstanding athleticism, poor angles by the coverage team, as well as some poor tackling. And it all came together and resulted in a return for a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think you had very good execution there by Team Armour, but Dalen Charlotte, and the job he's done now on 2 kickoff or punt return opportunities to not only make the initial defender miss, but then make multiple defenders miss to extend the return.
He's made visits to LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. He's still undecided. What we do know is he's got team highlight back on the board.
That's what I'm talking about, huh? That's what I'm talking about.
Returns of 37 and 54 for Dalen Charlotte, and team highlight is on the board again at 24-0 early in the second quarter in this 2015 Under Armour High School All-American game presented by American Family Insurance. And one way so far, but these games can flip so quickly.
Absolutely, a lot of playmakers. If we look at Charlotte, a one-time Alabama verbal commit, LSU, Arizona State, some of the teams that are still in the mix for that talented young man.
You know, these two teams, it's very clear that Team Highlight has executed, has gelled quicker throughout the week, seems more dialed in. With Team Armour, it seemed a little bit disheveled, not overly confident what they're doing, and that's got to be concerning if you're Steve Mariucci on that sideline over there.
Another chance to touch the ball for Team Armour. It's Eric Glover-Williams, a defensive back. Good return off the spin across the 35, and it keeps the legs moving to the 40-yard line. Strong return and a tackle by Malik Jefferson, a recent Texas commit on team highlight.
Eric Glover-Williams, the Ohio State verbal commit. Athlete, projects to corner at the college level, and we saw some of that toughness there on that run. He would not go down without a fight.
Well, in Ohio State's offense, too, he could play that Jalen Marshall, Dontre Wilson role. I think Urban Meyer and the staff like to have taller corners.
I think part of the reason he rejects the defense is because they have the Marshall.
Absolutely.
They have the Dontre Wilson.
DeAndre Johnson in at quarterback for the first time, and he ends up face first after a gain of 3. Arden Key with the stop. Here are the top recruiting classes. Alabama, Florida State took losses yesterday, but there's hope.
Yeah, Alabama working on potentially a 4th straight #1 class, but Florida State this week were able to add ESPN 300, Devontae Phillips, starting to close the gap a little bit, make a run towards Alabama. We talked about Tennessee a little bit earlier, Tom. Butch Jones signed the #5 class a year ago, has the Volunteers in position for potentially another top 5 finish.
Yeah, and USC now starting to really recover from those limited restrictions on scholarships.
Coward after Johnson again. Had to throw on the run. It's a jump ball and nearly intercepted, but out of bounds. That's Derwin James, the safety on the back end, along with Jefferson, the linebacker.
You know, Craig, I'm watching downfield as this ball snapped, and there isn't anybody open. This team highlight group in the secondary, you see the pressure up front from Byron Cowart, and DeAndre Johnson just trying to make something happen. Luckily, he's athletic, throws it up to Tyler Petit, the Stanford verbal commitment, and there's just nowhere to go with the football right now for Team Highlight.
Even he took that shot, and there was 2 defenders there.
Make this the last play.
So 3rd down for Team Armour, wearing the black jerseys, trailing 24-0. They're coming off the screen, and Brissett goes down. Roquan Smith, the #2 outside linebacker, was right there.
Watch the get-off along the line of scrimmage. All those defensive linemen, you see Braden Fihoko right up the middle. Arden Key off the edge, the South Carolina verbal commit. Byron Cowart coming the other way. He was a screen, but that immediate pressure, and as soon as he did throw it, Roquan Smith was right there to make the tackle. I mean, there was just nowhere for that play to get developed and go.
Seibert's been a busy guy punting. And this one takes a hop in front of Calvin Ridley and out of bounds. Coming up, another announcement. Deron Payne deciding between Alabama, Auburn, and Mississippi State. His choice after this.
Easy eater inside as well as make plays. So now American Family Insurance commitment time. Let's go down to Matt Schick. We've got ourselves a Iron Bowl battle on the recruiting trail, Matt.
That's right. 6'3", 348, although he just said in his defense he's down to 330 pounds. So duly note that. He's also down to 3 schools, as you said, Alabama, Auburn, and Mississippi State. Deron Payne, where are you headed?
First off, I would like to say to God be the glory, and I would like to thank everybody that helped me to get to the point I am. But I'll be furthering my education and football career to the University of Alabama.
Only room for one hat. Alabama Crimson Tide getting another one. #1 recruiting class getting even stronger. Why'd you want to go to Tuscaloosa?
Just the development, and I love the coaches down there, and I feel like that's a great place for me to be.
The state of Alabama's top uncommitted prospect. Uncommitted no longer. Deron Payne. Alabama, guys.
One of 2 defensive tackles going to Alabama, and Blake Barnett, his future teammate, loving it.
He's happy because he's got a guy now going on the other side of the ball that can help get the football back to that offense. And this is a great fit, Tommy. Think about that base 3-4 defense. Deron Payne is an ideal nose with his size, the ability just to draw double teams as well as take them on and collapse the pocket as a pass rusher.
No question about it.
It's Damian Harris on the run for team highlight again and near the 40-yard line. Let's take a look at the Alabama class coming in. They've got one more in Tuscaloosa now with Payne.
We just talked about Florida State potentially closing the gap a little bit. How do the Crimson Tide respond? They add a big defensive tackle. You see the class, 18 ESPN 300 prospects, led by 2 that are #1 at their respective position. We've talked about Barnett, but also Calvin Ridley is here as well, Tom.
No, I think this group, after watching last night, they've got to be disappointed, want to ensure that it doesn't happen again for the University of Alabama, and continue a trend of a nice streak of wins and championship caliber football.
Damian Harris again, just short of the 50-yard line, gain of 8. Well, when you look at the recruiting classes, Alabama has been strong year after year after year. But what's missing maybe in this class? What might they need more of?
Well, we've got a player committing towards the end of the game, Kendall Sheffield, 5-star corner. One of the teams that he is looking at is Alabama. And a year ago, we saw Tony Brown here.
Yeah, and Marlon Humphrey.
And Marlon Humphrey. They've got 2 young corners. I think that is really right now, you look at that class, where maybe the biggest need could be. So that's something Alabama fans will want to stay tuned for.
Ronald Jones this time has the first down to the 50-yard line. And team highlight, running the ball with 2 very talented backs, Harris and Jones.
Some of the other teams, just so Alabama knows what they're up against, LSU, Florida State, A&M. The other schools also in the mix for Kendall Sheffield, an excellent track athlete as well.
See George Campbell there, taking a look at his offense while he takes a couple of reps on the sideline. Team Armour needs a stop here. They've got to get the football back and start putting together some successive, positive plays.
They'll run the reverse to the outside. Ray McLeod, the tremendous athlete inside the 15, the Clemson commit. The Hillsborough County rushing career leader just from half an hour away with a big run.
Yeah, the double reverse. Now watch who is out in front leading this run. That's right, Florida State fans. DeAndre Francois with a nice little block there on Deshaun Elliott, the Texas variable commit.
And Devontae Phillips. Just when you think that maybe in the run game you're going to get a little bit stop here from the Armour defense, some razzle-dazzle comes from team highlight. And this is exactly what you've seen from a Clemson offensive skill player. Versatility, the ability to make plays in space, run and pass.
38 yards that time, but Andrew Butcher blew that play up.
Well, we're lucky we didn't have a butt fumble there with number 75, Drew Richmond, the offensive tackle. DeAndre Francois falling right into him. Doink.
They say to follow your blockers, but they assume the blocker's going to be moving forward.
Don't become your blocker.
There's a safe amount of space that you should trail by.
Good tackle there by Kerryon Johnson, the athlete committed to Auburn, playing running back at the next level, lining up on defense here.
Damian Harris stood up by Marcus Ford. Talked about that Tennessee defense. Ford's another one coming in 56 in black with a stop there.
If you're going to win and you're going to be successful in the SEC, you better be successful up front along the defensive line. And I think Butch Jones and his staff know that and have done a really nice job of recruiting to it. When you think about guys like Shy Tuttle, who was here taking part along defensive line, Marcus Ford, who we're taking a look at, Andrew Butcher, another defensive end, a member of the Under Armour All-America squad, really a high motor guy. They are bringing in edge rushers as well as big men who can push and be run stuffers in the middle. They're really a very strong defensive line class coming in 2015 for the Tennessee Volunteers.
Meantime, they have a 35-7 lead at the half of their bowl game, and that's a big stick by Dalen Mack.
Wow. And that's one of those big plays you talked about, Tom, that they needed, the explosive burst. That was the center had no chance, Brandon Kennedy, to get down and down block him. By the time he got moving, Dalen Mack was already in the backfield.
See, that's where the offensive line really gets a lesson on what's coming. Because at the high school level, that offside tackle or guard, he makes that block. But at this level,
Ewan's field goal is good, so Team Highlight racks up 3 more, 27-0. Team Highlight with the lead. We've had 2 announcements. Ronald Jones is second on his way to USC. We've also heard from defensive lineman Tim Settle going to Virginia Tech. And our most recent one, Alabama picks one up. One of the priorities this week during the Under Armour practices was teaching proper tackling techniques to help ensure head safety. 4-time Pro Bowler LeVar Arrington spent a lot of time in practice teaching the right way to tackle. There you see part of the point of emphasis included the use of Zenith X2E varsity helmets that every All-American is wearing. The Zenith helmet utilizes new technology which adapts to the head without a pump, but just a pull on the chin straps, and a shock bonnet suspension system that allows the helmet to move independently, which helps deflect impact. Great work by LeVar Arrington and his group. And then you see close up one of those helmets.
They never had that stuff when we were growing up, man. We thought we were cool laying in the stretching line, and the guy came by with a little pump thing and stuck it in the top of your head, and you'd say, yeah, that feels good, I'm good to go.
They pumped up the leather helmet?
Yeah,
yes. Well, I'm not that old.
We may want to make the picture a little clearer here.
Yeah.
These start these I remember when stories. Next thing you know, you're going to tell me ice cream was a nickel.
Team Armour will receive here in a 27-0 game for Team Highlight in white. Glover Williams puts it on the ground and navigates his way to the 18-yard line. As we mentioned, Steve Mariucci and Herm Edwards on the sidelines are mic'd up, wired for sound.
Let's get ready to rumble. He's a defensive end, Mooch. I'm afraid to kick off. That's why we're not scoring any points. Hey! What do we say? How do we say? Look at all these fast guys. All these fast guys. 4th and 1 out of Whitfield.
All the fast guys, Steve Mariucci says.
He's got them too. Don't believe that hype. His guys aren't executing as well as the Highlights fast guys.
There's one of them, Soso Jamabo, making his way to the outside. Darrell Williams went low on him. 2nd down after a loss of 1.
That was a wonderful grade A excuse why they're not scoring. He doesn't want to kick off.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great sense of humor out of Steve Mariucci. These guys have such a good time, not only with the kids all week, but the high school head coaches that come in with their families. They coach the individual positions, clinic with the NFL guys. A great week at the Wide World of Sports Complex there at Walt Disney World.
DeAndre Johnson in at quarterback under some pressure, and off he goes. Anthony Wheeler was giving chase. We'll hear from Wheeler coming up later in a little extracurricular activity, but Wheeler will announce where he's going to college coming up in the second half of our game.
Wheeler's one of those guys that can put his hand on the ground and rush off the edge, yet can still play in his outside linebacker role and that designated pass rusher. That position's become one that's afforded players in today's landscape the ability to play early. Because if you can give you something on third down that's difficult to handle in pass rush situations, it's a way to get on the field.
Big chance on third down here, and Soso Jamabo carries it for Team Armour. And he's hit again by Byron Cowart. And we talked about his week of practice. It's showing in the game.
And the motor, the quickness. This guy loves to play the game, and it shows throughout practice as you see the pursuit. Really a nice job by number 23, Darrell Williams, the Auburn verbal commit, kind of setting the edge and allowing Cowart to be able to come in pursuit, get the assist on attack.
I'd like to see Team Armour here take a shot. DeAndre Johnson at quarterback. Got one-on-one to the top of the field, no safety help.
He's looking that direction, and a little bit too much on it. Second down, he was looking for DeMarcus Lodge, who is that deep threat.
Yeah, that's another one, though. We've gotten accustomed to seeing DeMarcus Lodge come down. With you and I, Jason, had a chance to call one of his high school games this year, and it went through his hands, and obviously not an easy catch. But
you got to make that catch.
He's
Greg.
a phenomenal playmaker,
yeah.
and something he is accustomed to making.
You're playing at this level, and you've got a ball within your catch radius. You don't want to lay him out high from the quarterback position. That's a catchable ball for a player of his skill set.
Why do you think that sort of thing happens in a game like this, where your skill set doesn't necessarily shine?
Probably because you're thinking a lot. You still got some nerves, and it's not your normal set of circumstances. Really good job there up top now that time by DeMarcus Lodge, coming back down the stem. Remember earlier I talked about when the quarterbacks have gotten in trouble, haven't been a lot of help on the perimeter to give the quarterback options. DeAndre Johnson, the Florida State verbal commitment, does a nice job as we see the isolation, Craig, here on the comeback route. Come back down, son, keep coming. Now he secures that football.
That was Sean Crawford at 5'10", Lodge at 6'2", that size on the outside. It's his second grab, 22 yards in the game, and a second first down for Team Armour as they'll go with Jamabo again. He lost the ball and picks it right back up. Cowart was in pursuit. Crawford as well, gain of 5.
If you watch the practice this week on ESPNU, Coach Steve Mariucci talked about ball security, tough running by Soso Jamabo, but you see the backside pursuit there by Byron Cowart, knocked it loose. But number 2, Soso Jamabo, was able to recover his fumble. But you got to be aware. We talked about the speed of the game, but the defenders coming from behind as well.
Steve Mariucci was constantly preaching this week 4 points of pressure to his running backs. What's he mean by that?
That's the most precious item on the field, and the 4 points of pressure in terms of how you carry and tuck a football. As we see DeAndre Johnson here trying to elude the pass rush. He might have a shot. Oh!
Afodele was the closest one there. Crawford again on the coverage, but how about Arden Key in the backfield along with Terry Beckner Jr.?
They're doing an outstanding job of creating pressure, but watch DeAndre Johnson. He hangs in there, is able to create, as you said, number 17, Arden Key, the South Carolina verbal commit. The camera was also applying some pressure.
It's tough when you're bracketed by a strong defensive end and the camera.
Yeah. A long, rangy, speedy defensive end of camera, then the number 1 player in the nation, Terry Beckner Jr., also bearing down on you. Not an easy day at the office for DeAndre Johnson.
Maybe that's what Jameis Winston was missing yesterday. If the camera was there, he would have hung on to the football, fallen backward.
You know, that's just a good job, though, by DeAndre Johnson, not taking the negative play, trying to create. He avoids this sack right here, but then doesn't do anything stupid with the football. Sign of maturity, decision-making. You know, the quarterbacks, we've talked about it all week here, whether it's been Blake Barnett, Kyler Murray, DeAndre Johnson, DeAndre Francois, the whole group, Brandon Wimbush, they've gotten the ball out of their hands quickly. They've got smooth strokes, and they've been smart with the ball. Now, the live bullets start flying by out here, and it's a different animal because the speed of the game rapidly intensifies. And Jason, you referenced, why do you think that is where a guy misses a catch or misses a throw? When you haven't worked with your teammates for months and months and months like you have at the high school or collegiate or at the NFL level, and you've done it for 3.5 days, you're going to have some efficiency problems. It's just part of the process.
And you talked about it in our open earlier on as well, that when you're playing against guys that are closer to your skill level, that'll change the speed of the game as well. Johnson too high that time. looking for Brandon Martin, the uncommitted wide receiver out of Prime Prep in Texas, and it's 4th down for Team Armour, trailing 27-0.
Looked like they were starting to get a little thing going there with that series, at least maintain some possession of the football. The throw right there from DeAndre Johnson high on an open Brandon Martin underneath on the slant. Brandon Martin maybe been one of the most impressive physical specimens, Craig, we've seen here all week.
Yeah, brings outstanding size to the position, strong hands, and really has been one of those pleasant surprises, as you mentioned, throughout the week of practice.
Ray McLeod, the Clemson commit, got hit high and out of bounds he goes. So Team Highlight will have it back. And don't forget, ESPN has the first NFL playoff game on Saturday when the Arizona Cardinals take on the Carolina Panthers. Win or go home in the NFC. The NFL playoffs wild card round. Cardinals-Panthers, Saturday, 4:20 Eastern on ESPN. Under Armour All-America alumni in the NFL draft. You talk about high draft selections. We got them in this game.
And in the history, I mean, A.J. Green, we talked about Julio Jones in the open. Luke Jokel and Jadeveon Clowney, #1 overall pick a year ago. Obviously, injuries derailed his rookie season, but the amount of talent that has come from this game throughout college to the NFL, and then the 2015 NFL draft.
That's what I was going to say, Craig. This draft coming up this spring could be really loaded in the first round there.
First look at Jarrett Stidham, the quarterback, and he hands it off to Ronald Jones, but Canton Kalmatule was in there pretty quickly along with Adonis Thomas, the Alabama commit.
Well, Jarrett Stidham, a Baylor commitment for the Bears, a guy that fits the mold of what they want at the quarterback position, a guy that can stroke it, get the ball out of his hands, and is also a really, really good athlete. A better athlete than what they've had, well, let's just say Bryce Petty. Bryce Petty fit more into the mold of a Case Keenum. Certainly Bryce has better physical tools, but Stidham brings some more athleticism.
He's almost, if you look at the spectrum, you'd almost put him somewhere in the middle of a RG3 and a Bryce Petty. He's kind of like in the middle of those two. You can kind of pick some attributes for both of them, and you might come up with a Jarrett Stidham.
Out of Stephenville, Texas, Stidham. Deron Payne was in there initially along with Dalen Mack. Those two tackles have played a whale of the first half.
Deron Payne got across the line of scrimmage, and he just set up a wall. You're going to see him with a quick swim move. Woo! He allows nowhere to go. Then you got Dalen Mack closing from the other. You're right. Wow. I mean, you need a battering ram to get through those two. One guy alone's not going to do it.
Combined 678 pounds.
I want to see Team Highlight take a shot, but then I want to see Team Armour actually defend it. Take a shot downfield, make something happen on defense here, Team Armour. In black, get something happening, something positive as we see the second quarter wind down here. You see Kevin Tolliver on the perimeter there for Team Armour.
Minka Fitzpatrick as well, the other corner. And Stidham incomplete for St. Brown. Equinemius St. Brown, who we saw with a catch earlier on for a first down, and 3 and out for Team Highlight.
Well, now you're going to have an opportunity. Field position finally weighing into the favor, Craig, of Team Armour. And right there, Jarrett Stidham just misses that throw on the little quick screen to the receiver. Receiver falls down. Equinemius St. Brown does right off of the initial snap.
Yeah, a little bit out in front of it, but you're right, Tom. This is now the opportunity before the half for Armour to get some momentum. Good chance to start this drive inside Highlight's end of the field.
Jarrett Stidham just wanted to get his future teammate, Drew Gallett's, a chance to punt. The Baylor commit.
With the greatest haircut in the history of football.
The mullet is in play. Short punt. Glover Williams, the scoop on the run, and he's got space. Glover Williams, past Gallett's for the score.
I told you they needed that, Craig Hobert.
You were right. I will never doubt you again. But Highlight with Gallas, they didn't want to give a clean return. It was low. They wanted it to hit the ground to allow their coverage team to get downfield. It was a gutsy move by the Ohio State verbal commit, Eric Glover Williams, as he's going to aggressively come up and almost like a scoop and score, Tom, on defense. There's a line there, and Gallas gave it his best for a kicker. Just woo! Glover Williams pushed him aside.
Boy, Urban Meyer, his staff got to be excited taking a look at that. Fresh off of a big Sugar Bowl win. Coach Steve Mariucci fired up again. positive momentum for your team, get the chemistry on your sideline up, go into the locker room, regroup and settle down, come out and make this a good football game.
Louis Zervos has it blocked. Ball still alive and picked up by Christian Wilkins. Big play the other way. Team highlight with a convoy. Wilkins high steps in. Block and score all in one play.
Big Christian Wilkins out of Suffield Academy in Connecticut. A big man's dream.
Look at that dude run, man.
Yeah, even at the high school. You know Deion Primetime Sanders is in the house. Maybe Wilkins, who just bust up the middle, and then Armour just stopped playing. It seemed like they felt the ball
was dead.
Yep. And Christian Wilkins was not going to allow this opportunity to pass him by.
That's a low trajectory on the kick as well. Zettler. Look at the big fella running.
And Derwin James had a big block for the one defender that had a chance, and then the smooth moves into the end zone.
Well, he will remember that for a long time. A possible maybe Nittany Lions, Stanford Cardinal, Ohio State, Clemson all on the board there. He just went right over the long snapper and blocked it.
Craig, would you agree that he's been one of the most pleasant surprises amongst the defensive line group? You've talked about the strength of that group as a class, both at end and on the interior, but he came in with a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Nothing is even when you were looking at prospects, and he came from an area that had good competition, but maybe not as tough as some of the other prospects from Florida, Texas, California, Alabama. And the question was, how steep would that jump in competition be? And it seemed to not be at all for Christian Wilkins. He's got the size, he's got the initial quickness, and from day one, he fit right in. And amongst an outstanding group of interior defensive linemen, he was as disruptive as anyone. And speaking to some of the offensive linemen on Team Highlight, they said he was always tough to handle. And now we also know he's got some return ability.
He's a double threat.
Yeah.
That's right.
But we got to move him to the athlete category.
Louis Zervos kicks it away after having it blocked, and a short kick. Calvin Ridley playing up, slips to a stop, and just short of the 30-yard line. Here are the top defensive tackles on the board. Christian Wilkins, number 11 defensive tackle, and the ESPN 300 has Terry Beckner Jr. in there as well. Mack, Settle, Green, and Thompson.
It's a good group. You know, Beckner could play as an end as well, almost a 5 technique type body. All those other guys are interior guys right there for the most part. Rasheem Green could move out a little bit if you needed him to, but very active, very athletic. I think a common denominator with all of them is, given their size, Craig, an explosive first step.
Absolutely. And when we got together to start this process to put together the first ESPN 300, one of the things we came away with saying that this may be the best group of defensive linemen in one class that we have seen since that initial rankings in 2006.
Second series now for Jarrett Stidham, the quarterback, the Baylor commit. See his arm on display to the outside, and a great diving grab by Kai Loxley, the Florida State commit, playing receiver. He's also a quarterback. He hits for 36.
Kai Loxley does a nice job attacking the alignment of the defender. Minkah Fitzpatrick gets up on his toes and then allows space for the ball to fade him to the side. And look at that throw from Jarrett Stidham. Woo!
Just outstanding body control and adjustment by Loxley to come down with that pretty play from beginning to end.
Worth mentioning, Loxley is one of 3 Florida State quarterback commits in this game. How do we think that's going to end up?
Exactly what you saw right there on the sideline. Listen, he's a really good athlete. He gives Jimbo Fisher and their staff a lot of positional options.
Damian Harris putting the shoulder down across the 30, and he goes into Adonis Thomas. Harris, who was out with a leg injury earlier this year, it looks like he's not any worse for the wear. As don't forget, our Under Armour halftime report has a lot packed into it. First half analysis, a feature from AFI, along with Tyron Johnson's verbal commitment He'll be joining Matt Schick downstairs. One of the top wide receivers will decide, and oh my goodness, Daylon Mack once again from the word go.
It was like he was in the offensive huddle and knew the snap count. He is so explosive, that quickness. Watch him just get off the ball. They just worked a second. They didn't even try and block him. I don't know if they were trying to pull around and get to him, but whatever it was, they had no shot of getting a piece of Mack.
They were trying to pull around with Brandon Kennedy and kick him out. He had no chance with that explosiveness off the ball.
You know, the Daylon Mack, one-time Texas A&M verbal commit, he's come out and said TCU and LSU are his top two, but is also looking at an official visit towards Texas, so I guess you would 2A maybe in that mix, and then Texas A&M now with the defensive coordinator situation settled. Could the Aggies possibly get back in the mix? We'll see. So basically what I'm saying is a lot to still be settled there in the recruitment of Daylon Mack.
How about TCU, though, in consideration? That's a reflection of the job Gary Patterson's done, of the perception of that program now and how it has changed since they moved up into the Power 5 conference ranks and have made such a rapid rise within the Big 12. We all know the story of the conflict and the debate of the college football playoff Final Four this year, but the coach of the year in college football, Gary Patterson, isn't doing it without great players, and so now he's opened himself up to players of this level as well to help supplement that roster.
Daylon Mack certainly a possibility to go there and play for TCU, as once again the defensive line is all over it. Mack again, he's unblockable right now, Craig.
We just saw his ability to penetrate and blow plays up in the backfield. Now we're going to see his ability to hold at the point of attack. The low center of gravity, the leverage, the hands, and then to be able to shed and make the play.
Wow. It's an impressive guy. Now we're going to see young man Yoon here try and see if he can crank a long field goal here, Jason.
Just outside the 30, so likely a 46-yard kick.
Notre Dame fans this bowl season know the importance of a last-minute field goal, how that can play the role in the game. And for Yoon, a Notre Dame verbal commit out of Massachusetts, his range can be in that 45 to 50 plus. Now we'll see how that is under the bright lights and a big stage, but he has the leg to make this kick.
Well, and they've been working on their legs with all the time they spend sitting around at practice. Because this week at the Under Armour All-America game practices, I had an opportunity to sit down on the bench with these guys and really get a sense for how long they've been sitting there.
Hashtag kicker life, right?
Yeah, man, hashtag kicker life.
Officially a 47-yard try straight away for Yoon. Finally getting a workout. Good leg into it. You heard him yell Yoon as it went through. That's what all that rest is for.
Yes.
Tom?
Woo! Yeah, got to keep the fresh legs, Jason.
Prime him for 47.
He's got an explosive leg. You see him follow through with the hips and really makes good contact right down the middle. And I'm sure Notre Dame fans see a kicker in their class, they don't get too excited. This is a guy who can help put points on the board.
Well, look, you mentioned it. A couple days ago, they win a bowl game thanks to Kyle Brinza, who's on his way out, the senior. So now you got somebody coming in, can take over, and has a strong leg.
Nobody ever likes to talk about kickers and long snappers until you need them to come through for you. And not always a celebrated part of a class, but can be a crucial part of a recruiting class and success of a team.
You know, the one thing that we've seen in college football, you know, there's so much talk about freshmen playing early and guys coming in to make an impact. But there are opportunities for kickers, and there are every single year. I remember Jeff Locke in this game at UCLA, Dustin Hopkins before Roberto Aguayo at Florida State, guys that had come in, Caleb Sturgis at Florida, that made an impact right away because there was an opportunity and you're good enough. And if you can handle the mental side of it, the ability to block out all the clutter, you can really make a name for yourself early in your career.
Those are the top 5 kickers, and that combines place kickers as well as punters. And Austin Seibert, he could do both in college. He could punt. I think that is his strength, the Oklahoma verbal commit, but indeed he could also be a place kicker.
Bouncer, and Jalen Barnett, just for fun, to the 32. The #1 guard in the country on the return.
He wanted his moment in the sun. He saw Christian Wilkins on the other side of the field get to return one for a touchdown. But hey, that looks pretty easy. Let me give it a shot.
That's the most excited I've ever seen anybody for a 3-yard return.
He had some twinkle toes there. You know, I'm going to be real interested to watch Team Armour come out in the second half and see how competitive they are. I understand this is an all-star game. The first half hasn't gone as well as you've hoped. But we talked coming into our broadcast about, you find out a lot about these kids. Craig, you and I, we sit back, we'll leave this thing, and we'll talk about the week, and we can point guys out and say, that guy's going to make it. Maybe that guy won't make it. That guy's got a ways to go. And a lot of it has to do with their competitive temperament.
Brandon Wimbush back in. Goes to the long ball. There's nobody home on this. Second down coming up. Closest man there was Derwin James, the safety. 2 seconds left.
The common denominator between all these players is they are physically gifted.
Right.
What separates them now is who's going to put in the extra work to help them rise above. Who's going to do the little things? Who's going to work on technique? Who's going to put in the film study? Who's going to go to class? Once that talent gap narrows, it's the hard work, it's the focus that helps you to separate from that pack now. And this week gives you, like as you mentioned, Tom, a little bit of a glimpse into who those guys may be.
Wimbush the throw, and he's got the completion to Brandon Martin to the 40. And he gets ambushed by James along with Kendall Sheffield, the cornerback, who we will hear from. He will announce later, but first, at halftime, Tyron Johnson, one of the top wide receivers in the country, #2. He'll be with Matt Schick. Back with the Under Armour halftime report.
Welcome back to halftime here at the Under Armour All-America game. It's announcement time, and this time it's the 25th ranked player in the ESPN 300. Tyron Johnson, our #2 ranked wide receiver, silky smooth, very fluid. He is a glider that can stretch the field. So now, for his announcement, it's American Family Insurance announcement time and our Matt Schick.
All right, thank you, Tom. Yes, Tyron Johnson, #2 wide receiver, #25 overall, having some fun here. Tyron Johnson Sr. is here, coach, aunt, family, everyone here taking part. You're down to Texas Tech, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma State, and Auburn. That's a long list. Let's shrink it to one. Where are you going?
Before I declare, I want to thank God, thank my family and friends for supporting me, thank ESPN for giving me the chance to announce on TV, thank Under Armour for lacing me with all this gear. I want to thank my city, New Orleans, showing me so much love. We NOLA. And I want to thank Warren Easton and everybody that's supporting me from Warren East community. And for the next 3 or 4 years, I will be playing for LSU.
Got the jersey already. Where'd you get that?
Well, eBay.
Hey, if you know, you know, right? Hey, in-state product, go to LSU. Why'd you want to stay home?
It's a great feeling, you know, when your family and everybody can come watch you play. You know, Coach Frank Wilson, you know, he's a great guy, and we developed a great relationship.
3 of the top 4 receivers for LSU this year were freshmen. How confident are you can step in right away and make an impact?
I'm very confident because they have depth at receiver, but they kind of, you know, go get us straight down the line. But I can come underneath short and make something happen short.
Tyron Johnson, everyone happy with that? All right, very good. Tyron Johnson, #2 wide receiver, commits to LSU. More announcements coming up. It's halftime. The Under Armour All-America football game presented by American Family Insurance is brought to you by Under Armour. I will.
Halftime in St. Pete, 32-6 your score in favor of Team Highlight, including a 2-point conversion blocked and taken all the way the other direction. Dalen Mack trying to do everything he can for Team Armour defensively to keep them in the game at 32-6, your halftime score. Guys, your initial thoughts on that first half?
Well, Highlight made a lot of big plays. We saw Ronald Jones II. He came on, made a commitment to USC, then
had a big play as a running back, but for Team Armour, it wasn't from a lack of effort from Daylon Mack, the defensive tackle.
No, it wasn't. And listen, there was some plays made defensively, particularly in the second quarter by Team Armour in black there on defense. They've got to somehow manufacture some sustained continuity on offense. They've had a couple of plays here and there, and then DeMarcus Lodge has got to start catching the football consistently. That's something that has stood out to me in the first half. Would have converted 2 third downs, kept the drive going, kept Team Highlight on the sideline.
So what do you do in an all-star game when you don't really know everybody on that sideline? How do you drum up that sort of energy?
You know, I think what the coaches and Steve Mariucci and the coaches on that sideline have got to do is go in the locker room and say, guys, we want to see more competitiveness out of you. We want to see what you're going to do now when things haven't been going your way and you haven't performed to the standard that we had set throughout the week. Again, to me, it's all about what are these guys made of, because challenge, adversity, things that they haven't faced a lot of, at least on the field at the high school level, because they've been so athletically gifted and better than everybody else, start to manifest themselves out here when things don't go their way.
You shouldn't need a particular rah-rah guy. When you're in this type of setting with these type of prospects, everybody's the best at what they do. It should come internally from within, and we're going to see who those guys are that are able to go out there and make plays and elevate their game.
So 32-6 Team Highlight. Team Armour is going to get it first out of halftime. Saw the big plays from Team Highlight really changed the game. The 58-yard touchdown run for Ronald Jones II. Dalen Charlotte with the punt return for 54 yards as well. And Eric Glover-Williams had a nice return on the other side for Team Armour. And this is Tyron Johnson, who just announced where he's going to LSU. So Craig Haubert, Tom Luganville, Jason Benetti along with you for this Under Armour High School All-America game. Who stood out individually for you guys? Craig first.
For me, I'm going into the trenches with Daylon Mack, the ESPN 300 5-star defensive tackle. His first step quickness has allowed him to be a disruptive force in the backfield. He has blown up several plays. They have tried to block down on him with away offensive linemen, and his quickness have not allowed them to do that. Plus, he's also been stout at the point of attack as well.
Ball loose, and not the first play that Team Armour was looking for. Team Highlight has it, and it's Malik Jefferson dragging a tackler down to the 5-yard line. The Texas commit Jefferson on December the 19th, and Wimbush couldn't handle the snap.
Well, Wimbush not protecting the football here. This was going to be a zone read, and he's feeding Nick Brossette, the running back number 5 in there. And there was an issue with the mesh point. I think that Brandon Wimbush wants to pull that when he sees the defensive end collapse down. And again, a dangerous play when you're going to run some option or some read principles can be difficult to do on a short week.
So Brandon Wimbush, the Notre Dame commit, hits the sideline. He may get it back fairly quickly, though. First and goal for Team Highlight, leading 32-6. And there you see Blake Barnett, the Alabama commit, #1 pocket passer in the country, to throw on first and goal. And incomplete, a little wide of the target. Looking for Calvin Ridley, his future teammate at Alabama.
Those two guys were hooking up all throughout the week. Ridley, really explosive, a guy that can stretch the field. This was a little fade stop where Blake Barnett's throwing it to the back shoulder, and kind of wish Calvin Ridley there, Craig, could have gotten 2 hands on the ball, and from Blake Barnett's perspective, get it up more to shoulder height.
It was a bit of aggressive coverage, too, by Minka Fitzpatrick as well. Did not allow that second hand to come around for Ridley.
See Wes Chandler there, the offensive coordinator for Team Highlight, the former San Diego Charger great. He's got these guys dialed in. This has been an impressive performance of execution to this point for Team Highlight on offense.
That was all Alabama, too. Fitzpatrick and Alabama commits, all 3 players involved there. Heading to Tuscaloosa, Barnett one more time with a dagger into the end zone for the touchdown. It's Devontae Phillips, the #6 wide receiver in the country. The Florida State commit just a couple of days ago, and he's dangerous in the red zone.
And he's physical, Craig. He's big. They go to the same fade stop, this time to the boundary, the short side of the field. Blake Barnett throws a strike, and Kevin Tolliver II, it's the most difficult play to defend, Craig.
Even when you think you have Devontae Phillips covered, you really don't. Because of his size, he's got strong hands. He almost thrives in contested type matchups, and there in the end zone, in the red zone, he is really an ideal type target with that
those strong hands and that size.
There was one moment in practice a couple of days ago, Kevin Tolliver got up and was yelling at the wide receivers, "You better stop throwing that comeback route." And that time they went right back at it. Devontae Phillips with the touchdown. We were talking about individual efforts in this first half. Tom, who stood out most to you?
You know what? The guy that I'm going to go with is actually on Team Armour, and that's Eric Glover-Williams, the Ohio State verbal commitment. He's really been the only source of explosive plays right now for Team Armour, and they've all come in the kicking game. He's been fearless. He's attacked the football. He's hit the crease. He's been able to make multiple players miss in the open space and create some field position, but this team has not been able to sustain any type of consistency or execution on offense to get this ball into the end zone.
So we both picked guys from Team Armour, and they're down by 30.
Yeah. You know what, though? If we're going to go highlight, just to be fair, I'm going to go with Ronald Jones II, the newly minted USC verbal commitment. He has had a really, really explosive first quarter. You saw the dynamic threat out of the backfield on the 53-yard touchdown run.
Jason, you and I were joking. He had one run. It was a 58-yard touchdown. That guy deserves another carry, I would say.
Give him the ball more, Coach. Thought maybe you'd pick Yoon, the kicker. Just
special teams played a huge role in the first half.
39-6 your score. Team Armour will get it back and a flag down. So the special teams miscue for Team Highlight. Team Armour will have good field position.
Kicks out of bounds. Timeout.
And there you have it, 39-6. Team Highlight with the lead. Team Armour will get it back. And we've just seen a little bit of inconsistency from that offense. You know, the mesh didn't go well the last drive. A couple balls that maybe DeMarcus Lodge could have caught. What do you think tightens this up?
Well, it's about getting some momentum, making some positive plays. Obviously, they did not come out and do that on their initial drive. And it just seems, Tom, that for a highlight, they seem to have gelled better as a team throughout the week.
See Byron Coward, the number 2 player in the country, at Armwood High School in Florida. There's Malik Jefferson, who had the fumble recovery, the Texas commit, who put Team Highlight within 5 yards of the end zone, which led to that touchdown from Barnett to Phillips. Now Kyler Murray, who could be a future quarterback, could be a future second baseman, a very talented baseball player as well, who's made it clear that he'd like to play both in college at Texas A&M. Murray hits Jaquez Patrick out of the backfield, the Florida State commit, and he goes down immediately with Burgess Becker, the Alabama commit safety, and Darrell Williams, the Auburn linebacker.
I like that they put Kyler Murray back in here and want to see him take some shots downfield. Maybe Robert Ford, the offensive coordinator for Team Armour, can take some shots at the intermediate and deeper areas of the field. And you got guys like Brandon Martin that you see right there. You got guys like Christian Kirk that can work the slot. Take some one-on-one shots and throw it up to the big guys.
Martin's at the top of your screen. Kirk and Johnson are together down at the bottom of your screen. And they'll keep it on the ground for Jaquez Patrick, slipping a tackle across the 45, and he's got a first down for Team Armour. Burgess Becker was into the stop again.
6'3", 230 pounds. That is a big back when he gets going downhill. A nice job by the offensive line, number 73, Kendrick Norton, able to turn out the defensive tackle and create a lane. And big Jaquez Patrick got moving downhill, able to move the chains with that run.
Murray to throw. He's got Christian Kirk, the wide receiver, his future teammate at Texas A&M. Sheffield the tackle, gain of 13. Don't forget, the 9th annual Birmingham Bowl kicks off Saturday. It's the second best passing offense in the FBS down in Greenville, East Carolina, taking on that Florida Gators defense, which has a new coach coming in. The Birmingham Bowl Saturday at noon Eastern on ESPN. Randy Shannon to join the Florida staff as a linebackers coach. And one thing to mention is the position coaches are so important in recruiting, aren't they?
Well, absolutely. Those are the ones that these prospects form bonds with. If we look at the fewest commits amongst Power 5 schools, and 4 of them, as highlighted, have coaching changes, and that has a huge effect on the recruiting trail because it creates indecision, uncertainty.
You know, the other thing, too, is with position coaches, some of those guys can get so dialed in their areas of expertise and their areas of recruitment that they become invaluable.
Long ball for Murray, intercepted. Picked off by Darrell Williams, the linebacker, and he's got a seam for the return. Murray puts a shoulder in to Williams to finish him off, but another turnover for Team Armour and a 47-yard return for Williams. So 39-6 team highlight. We'll see some more talents for the guys in the white jerseys. Williams, the interception. Highlight gets it back in the Under Armour All-America game.
Leading 39-6 team highlight over Team Armour here at the Under Armour High School All-America game. Matt Schick now joined by Adam Peak, Executive VP of Global Marketing for Under Armour. This is your 8th year putting on this game. Why does this game make so much sense for Under Armour?
Matt, we love being a part of this game. We love everything that it stands for around the sport of football. As you said, this is our 8th year being a part of the Under Armour All-America game. Our mission as a brand at Under Armour is to make all athletes better. We believe there's no better living example of that come to life than the Under Armour All-American game today.
Part of growing the brand of Under Armour, also growing the sport of football. How does this game feed into that?
Football is absolutely in our DNA as a brand. We were born on the football fields. You know, it's very special to us. We're proud of all the events leading up to today. I think it's a great example of the sport of football. We're committed to football at every level. The education of the game from grassroots to the collegiate, high school levels, all the way up to the NFL.
You mentioned some of the events leading up to today. Practice aside, what all of the players been involved with?
I mean, action-packed week, a lot of fun. It's an intense week. But for the players and the families, we try to do a lot of things both on and off the field. The players have spent time doing community service in the local area here in Florida, giving back their time. They've learned how to be a great teammate, both on and off the field, and they've received just valuable life lessons from greats, football greats and coaches, people like LeVar Arrington, Deion Sanders. We've assembled a great cast and crew of coaching to help out these boys this week. And leading that charge absolutely with Herm Edwards and Steve Mariucci.
And of course, you guys, the players look great with the uniforms. Also about technology, though, as well. How does Under Armour use cutting-edge technology to give the best equipment to the athlete?
Look, it's all about technology. It's all about the latest and the best. We want these guys to play at their best when they need to. Innovation is something that we push every single day and absolutely in every single product we make. Some great examples of that on the field today, and hopefully you get a chance to check it out.
Adam Peak, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Happy New Year. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Guys?
Adam, Matt, thank you. That was Jones and Johnson, two running backs going at it on that run. We saw Kerryon Johnson, number 1 in black, getting physical coming up from his safety spot.
It was sure a nice run by Ronald Jones. He got on the perimeter, such a long glider, the speed. Kerryon Johnson, though, Auburn verbal commit, truly an outstanding athlete, projects to the offensive side of the ball there for the Tigers.
Damian Harris in at running back, and he finds his way to the corner. Where do you think Johnson ends up eventually, guys?
Oh, I think he ends up as a running back. He's one of those players that as a sophomore and junior predominantly played on the defensive side of the football, saw his time on offense as well. Initially invited here to play on defense and then explodes as a senior. You could argue you could take him and put him at safety, the athlete category, and the running back category, and he'd be in the top 3 of all 3 positions. So you've got some versatility there. He's a great kid, loves to compete. Hey, just put me out and I'll play the game, coach. So this is the type of player that I think can be a rallying force. He's got those types of leadership skills.
He had a pretty impressive one-handed interception in practice earlier this week, and there's a big hit right there by old number 10, John Houston Jr., the undecided linebacker. The hot board says USC, but he's considering a couple of schools.
He was teammates a year ago with current USC outstanding true freshman Adoree Jackson, who played in this game, and John Houston. Great length for the linebacker position, really his strength. You see him come up and play the run right there, but he's really strong in coverage. Outstanding range as a zone defender. The ability to develop into a
Francois loads up that right arm and has Terry Godwin. Nifty move for Godwin across the 15, and the Georgia commit gets involved with his first grab.
Terry Godwin just real quickly, gets up, runs a quick hitch route. The thing that I like is it's a powerful throw from DeAndre Francois out of his hands quickly. But look how quickly he plucks, tucks, makes a move, gets upfield, works forward, and gains yards after the catch.
Tom, you saw Georgia at one point this year. This is a pass offense that could use the help.
Oh, huge. You know, with the injuries they've had to Malcolm Mitchell and injuries across the board at wide receiver for Georgia, I think he's a guy who can come in and contribute right away.
Francois off the design run into the strength of that defense for Team Armour. Deron Payne involved yet again. So Francois with the run straight ahead. So 2nd down and 8, 103 yards. He's 4 out of 4 throwing as well. But there's big Deron Payne out of Shades Valley High School in Alabama.
Yeah, this defensive front now, they've been on the field an awful lot tonight. They haven't been the issue for Team Armour. They've been as advertised, if not better, across the board. This group has been active. They've penetrated. They've collapsed the pocket. And now they're going to get a turnover. And look who it is, Daylon Mack with the turnover in the backfield, Jason. For Team Armour, just as it looks like more points are going to be put on the board, Team Armour comes up with a big stop.
Again, right off the snap, he's in there.
He certainly is. He penetrates, almost follows the back, and then is able to locate the football. Canton Kamatule along there with him. What an impressive turnaround defensively to get that ball back, Jason.
What do you say we hear about another school that's getting a top player? Anthony Wheeler out of Skyline High in Texas will make his choice out of the Big 12 coming up next.
And it is once again announcement time as Anthony Wheeler is ready to make his choice. Number 3 rated inside linebacker, a run-stuffing force between the tackles with outstanding sideline-to-sideline range. He could also get after the quarterback a little bit as well. Let's go down to Matt Schick for American Family Insurance announcement.
All right, thank you, Craig. Yes, Matt Schick here with Anthony Wheeler, number 3 inside linebacker, number 89 overall on our ESPN 300. You are down to Oklahoma, Texas, and Baylor. What's it going to be, Anthony?
I just want to shout out to God first and thank all my friends and family and thank my coaches, and I want to shout out to Coach Todd and Jug Dream, and I just prefer and take my talents to on which side? To the University of Texas.
They hooked another one. Charlie Strong in Texas reeling in Anthony Wheeler. What made you want to be a part of what Charlie Strong is building there in Austin?
That's where I felt most comfortable, and that's where I see my future to be.
You're also going to be joining number 3 outside linebacker Malik Jefferson there at linebacker. What does that mean?
I just feel that we have a bright future ahead.
Great linebacking core coming to Austin. Guys?
Matt, thank you. And Anthony Wheeler goes to Texas. You lose a guy like Jordan Hicks, got to replace him, right?
Well, you do, and it's a position of need, Jason. You hit it on the head right there. The linebacking core is going to be depleted, and they need to not only get some guys from the linebacker position, but Craig, as you mentioned, he can also be utilized as a designated pass rusher.
It also symbolizes a bit of a swing of momentum towards the Longhorns' way. Texas A&M moved to the SEC, really kind of got a lot of momentum as we see Anthony Wheeler coming downhill, defending the run. First Malik Jefferson just a few weeks ago in early December. Now they bring Anthony Wheeler into the mix. 2 talented linebackers, but also key in-state recruiting victories for Texas.
Longhorns ended up in a bowl game at the end of the season. Took one on the chin in the bowl a couple of nights ago, but they're a completion to Cordell Broadus. We heard from Snoop at halftime, and we hear for the first time from his son.
No, Cordell Broadus has such a wide catch radius. He's a big-bodied guy. He gives the quarterback a nice window to throw into because he can nudge and muscle his way through coverage. We've talked about players making elevated plays in contested matchups. That's where he's probably at his best. You see the schools he's considering there. He really handled the recruiting process well, Craig.
I was watching the Ohio State-Alabama game last night thinking to myself, Broadus reminds me a little bit of Michael Thomas, the Ohio State wide receiver.
Yes,
in that,
very much so.
Not a guy who's necessarily going to run by you consistently, but good body control, strong hands, a reliable, consistent receiver who could be a threat in the red zone.
Sure sounded like Dad was leaning to USC at
Sounded
halftime.
like
Was he tipping his cap?
There was no tippy-toeing around that. That is certainly in the corner of the USC Trojans, and very happy about the addition of Ronald Jones.
First down off the third catch by DeMarcus Lodge. Murray on the roll using his legs, and Kyler Murray, who was intercepted earlier on in the quarter, gets out of bounds near the 40.
Again, the receivers for the Armour squad, the black squad here, and that's a great job by Kyler Murray, taking what the defense gives him, not giving Kyler Murray a lot of help when he's on the move. These are part of the little nuances, the things that you've got to develop in terms of your entire game as a wide receiver, attacking alignment, eating up cushion, coverage awareness, working back to the football, knowing where you are on the field. Kyler Murray, I don't think people really truly realize just how fast he is when you saw him take off right there.
This one, he goes high, and nice catch by DeMarcus Lodge. That's the type of ball, Tom, you wanted him to catch earlier on.
No doubt.
That's the type of player that we have seen DeMarcus Lodge be. He goes up, willing to sacrifice his body, use that frame, shield defenders. He probably went into halftime kind of kicking himself a little bit disappointed that he didn't make some catches that I'm sure more than anybody he expected from himself. Now he comes out in the second half and goes up and gets it.
The game, Craig, you and I saw in October, he was clearly the best player on the field.
Against DeSoto, over 200 receiving yards, just a playmaking machine.
Long ball for Murray, a little bit too much for Kirk, his future teammate. Coverage for Sean Crawford again, the undersized cornerback who plays very tough.
Yeah, he plays tough, plays big. I really like that throw from Kyler Murray. And take a shot. You got one-on-one vertically. You throw it out there. At least you live to play the next down with that ball placement. So close to being a reception right there. And that's the type of big play that you kind of get the sense that if Team Armour just gets one of those, maybe we can get something going here with a little under 5 minutes to go here in the third quarter.
He's trying to hook up with his future Texas A&M teammate, Christian Kirk, on that long ball.
Brissett, the LSU commit, on Murray. How quickly, I mean, Texas A&M has some young quarterbacks. How quickly do you think Kyler Murray gets a shot to play?
Well, you know, certainly Kyle Allen established himself this fall once he took over the reins and from Kenny Hill and really started to blossom and mature. He's still going to have at least 2 years left as a true sophomore and a true junior. So it's going to be interesting to see how open they feel the competition is as a coaching staff there under Kevin Sumlin.
You talked about it a little bit ago, Jason. Baseball may be a factor as well. Texas A&M fans know all about that. 2 years ago, Cole Stewart, outstanding pickup at the quarterback position. He wound up getting drafted, going the baseball route. We'll see what lays down the line for Kyler Murray. Baseball could certainly play in the equation.
Well, back in 2001, his uncle Calvin and Barry Bonds combined for 75 homers that year. Calvin had 2. Barry had 73 with the 0-1 Giants. Malik Jefferson is injured for Team Highlight. We'll step aside with Team Armour driving. You're watching the 2015 Under Armour High School All-America game presented by American Family Insurance. Tropicana Field, the home of the Rays, St. Petersburg, Florida. And Team Highlight has owned the game so far, though there have been some standouts for Team Armour. Kyler Murray trying to get his team wearing the black jerseys back into the game. Another bobbled snap. Murray is dropped. The man who had the long return earlier, Christian Wilkins, with a loss of 11 on the sack.
Excellent pursuit effort from big Christian Wilkins. As you're going to see, Kyler Murray, nice job of getting a handle back on the football again, trying to work around. And Christian Wilkins went a long way. It's all about effort as he eventually beats the blocker to secure the sack. And that's why it's tough for those offensive linemen. He was back there for a long time, Kyler Murray. But you've mentioned a few times, the receivers having a tough time getting open, working back, and giving their quarterbacks an option when things break down.
Did look like a pretty good snap that was bobbled by Murray from Brian Chaffin, the center out of Charlotte Christian in North Carolina, as the punt heads out of bounds from Seibert.
You look at Iman Marshall, the 5-star cornerback, Cordell Broadus, the wide receiver. They're still in the mix for some big guys out west.
Sure, and I'm always interested to see how the new coaching staffs fare, because there's so much going on when you first get that job, as we see the throw from Jarrett Stidham to George Campbell. So much going on that you have got to do. Recruiting takes precedence and priority over everything, but you're putting together a staff, you're getting settled in, you're evaluating the class. It's already been committed and recruited by the previous staff. So how teams like Florida and Jim McElwain and now Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and then the teams that are gaining momentum from this college football playoff, even with a loss for Florida State and for Alabama, but more importantly for Oregon and Ohio State, how they can capitalize on being the last two standing.
Talk about the coaching changes. The ball squirts free, and they will blow it dead. Boy, Dalen Mack, again, he's just been living in the backfield.
So explosive, that first step quickness, the fires out low. He is just blowing up plays in the backfield. Watch how quick he is off the football. That almost reminds me a little bit, going back a few years, of Dominique Easley and the type of impact he had in game from the defensive tackle position. At times, almost unblockable.
Well, he's unblocked that time. Looked like Weathersby was pulling.
Well, he was unblocked because he's moving before everybody else. I don't even care what the blocking scheme is.
Right.
If you're moving first, you've got a chance to make things happen. And Dalen Mack has displayed that type of explosive first step quickness consistently through this game. And that's what makes him such a coveted prospect. One time at Texas A&M verbal commit, now undecided, looking at several schools.
He says his top two are LSU and TCU, but 7 tackles today, 3 for loss for Mack. And once again, this defense and Marcus Ford with a sack. It's a loss of 7.
This defense is doing everything that it can, and it's not getting any help from the offense. You see the play fake there by Jarrett Stidham. There's nowhere to go. I think he's hoping to get the corner and then get himself out for the flood route and the flat and the deep crossing route and the vertical route. Marcus Ford doing a nice job of keying where the ball is, staying at home, shoulders square. Again, Tennessee verbal commitment. Now with field position, Craig, let's see if we can get this ball back for Team Armour, try and get some points on the board.
Eric Glover-Williams, who had the explosive return earlier, back to receive the punt from Gallett's, a high hanger, and no chance to return. So Team Armour will have it at the 38-yard line. We talked about coaching changes. These guys are in for the long haul. Herm Edwards and Steve Mariucci wired for sound tonight.
Look at all these fast guys. All these fast guys. Hit the quarterback.
Johnson, come on, baby.
Sack the quarterback. I'm afraid to kick off. That's why we're not scoring any points. Don't look at the scoreboard. I'll tell you when to stop scoring. You score. You play defense. Don't look at the scoreboard. Nice job. Nice catch.
All positive from Steve Mariucci and Herm Edwards. This is DeAndre Johnson showing off the arm down the sideline into traffic. And what a grab by Brandon Martin. Mercy.
Look at, this is a galloping horse now. He's out of prime prep. The Dallas area. Look at that big physical guy up at the top. Look at him run. Go up and get it between 2 defenders. This is a player that if he can make the academic progress necessary, may be the most undervalued and underevaluated player in this class.
That was Kendall Sheffield in coverage of 5-star corner. Commitment coming up still for Sheffield.
We'll hear from him about midway through the 4th quarter. Johnson to throw into the flat this time as his running back Jaquez Patrick, who's twisted down by the safety Burgess Becker. That's Florida State and Alabama going at it. Patrick out of the backfield, a future Seminole.
I think you look at Jaquez Patrick and you think about the potential dynamic, the complement he can be to Dalvin Cook, a playmaker, a game breaker. Patrick could be that big back in the backfield and could be a little bit more of that grinder, but then also give you an element of being able to catch out of the backfield. He just displayed his hands there.
No question about it. He's built very similar to Carlos Williams.
Yes.
DeAndre Johnson on the keeper this time. Past the 10 and out of bounds at the conclusion of the third quarter. A couple of Seminoles battling there. Derwin James, the top safety, and Johnson, the quarterback, the future Jimbo Fisher signal caller. The defense has been strong for Payne and Team Armour, but Team Highlight has the big plays to have the lead through 3 quarters in St. Pete.
Welcome back to St. Petersburg, Florida. It's the Under Armour All-America game for 2015. It's National Signing Day. It's just around the bend. We're down the home stretch Wednesday, February 4th. And Craig, lots of high-profile guys in the ESPN 300, particularly within the top 10, top 20, still available.
Certainly plenty to still be decided, and you go straight to the top. 2 prime defensive linemen, Terry Beckner Jr., Byron Coward, both taking part out there on the field today. 5-star cornerback Iman Biggie Marshall, Daylon Mack. We've seen the performance he has put forward. There is still a lot to be decided between now and signing day when everything begins to become official.
And remember, that was a hot board projection you saw next to their names, not a verbal commitment.
Johnson tackled in the backfield, nicely done by Sterling Johnson, the Clemson commit. Tom, you were talking about the hot board. What goes into a decision on the hot board?
Well, just the writers and bloggers and guys that are visiting with these kids, getting a sense of where they're leaning, how they're responding to visits, official visits, unofficial visits, how they're feeling, who they're talking to, maybe who they're close to in recruiting, about maybe where they could be leaning to make their college decision.
It is an art, Jason. An art.
Well, I know you're big into
you know it's an exact science, of course.
2nd and goal for Team Armour, trying to get into the end zone for the 2nd time today. Free runner, and it's Coward lighting up DeAndre Johnson.
He just let out a scream that echoed throughout the entire stadium, and he just came off the edge. Unblocked. I mean, he just beat him inside. I mean, he just did a great inside move.
That's just winning one-on-one versus the offensive tackle with an inside move. And again, and I'm going to use Cameron Robinson at Alabama as an example here, who was here in this event last year. To play as a true freshman as an offensive tackle, when this type of caliber is playing and you're making that jump to the collegiate level, to give you an idea of how difficult it is, that shows you how talented some of these guys are on the offensive line if they can survive early.
Once again, this is Fihoko coming in, and Coward finishes the deal.
Yeah, Fihoko couldn't finish the deal, but he came off the football and he got into the act a little bit. We've seen some explosive play from these defensive, right in the middle of your screen, going against Kendrick Norton, who is a big boy. The reason why he was able to do that, as we see Coward in the hustle to come back in and make the tackle, is because he won with low pads, leverage. He was able to get underneath big number 73, Kendrick Norton, and that's why he was able to lift him up with his strength that Fihoko has. And look, just impressive.
Fihoko committed to Texas Tech, a team that could really use some strong defensive line help. 4th down for Johnson and Team Armour. That's a laser, incomplete. Again, the coverage is tight for Burgess Becker on Kirk. And with 12:32 left, Team Highlight will get it back. 39-6 for Team Highlight. We still have a commitment remaining to tell you about coming up. Team Highlight with a big lead. The Under Armour All-America football game, presented by American Family Insurance, is brought to you by Under Armour, I Will, and American Family Insurance. Your dream is out there. Go get it. We'll protect it. This was Tuesday. The Under Armour All-Americans got an inside look at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando. Had to pick up a couple moves inside a headlock or something like. Craig, can you take us through the wrestling moves? I know you're a big wrestler.
Actually, I think that's Craig's singlet that he loaned him.
Brian Coward, who we saw with a nice play a few moments ago, he got a chance to get into the ring. And anybody who carries around a Chucky doll, I think, has a pretty good persona to maybe eventually transition into wrestling. He said one of his idols is The Rock, who those who don't know, played football.
Can he give the people's eyebrow? I want to see the people's eyebrow.
I don't think he's got big enough eyebrows to do it, does he?
He's got the people's stare.
This is Calvin Ridley, the Alabama commit, with a nasty stiff arm for his future teammate Fitzpatrick across the 40.
The one thing that has struck me throughout this game, Tom, I've seen a lot of things, is Highlight has tackled much better than Team Armour, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
A nice stiff arm there from Calvin Ridley to create some separation and pick up some yards after the catch.
They just flat out executed better. They've had more energy, in my opinion. There's almost been more of a sense of urgency from an execution standpoint. I know it's a fun setting. You want to have a good time. You want to culminate your high school career, but competitive juice has certainly been flowing here with Team Highlight in the white.
Barnett gets wrapped up. Jalen Dalton, the UNC commit, coming from the edge with a nice read.
Yeah, very nice job by Jalen Dalton. Who's he going to do? He stayed square. He squeezed down. When the quarterback pulled the ball, he remained in a position to make the tackle. Nice pickup, a key in-state pickup there for North Carolina. Had come down between them and the Hokies. And down the stretch, a lot of people felt that Virginia Tech was going to go ahead and get it, but the Tar Heels in the end were able to land.
He reminds me of former Auburn defensive end D. Ford, who came in undersized a little bit in terms of his overall stature and frame, and then really blossomed over the course of his career into a premier pass rusher.
Great frame to develop, just tall and long, and a lot of upside there for Jalen Dalton. Top 10 defensive end.
Yeah, Carolina's got a couple linemen. Tommy Hatton, the center for Team Highlight as well, one of the top centers in the country, committed to UNC off a 6-7 season in that bowl game loss. Barnett, little soft touch to the outside, and it has a hook up. Devontae Phillips across the 40-yard line. He's got a first down. The talented wide receiver who just committed to Florida State during our practice coverage.
Well, there's the tackling issues you talk about, you know, and we always joke in broadcasting college games that who in the world wants to be a defensive coordinator right now in the game of football? In the old days, you gave up 350 yards a game. They wanted to fire you. Now you can give up 500 yards and win. And case in point, Michigan State and Baylor in the Cotton Bowl yesterday. So the skill and the perimeter players in today's game are so difficult to deal with in space, Craig.
And when you get everything spread out and you get a lot of speedy athletes, now it becomes about the little things. Angles of pursuit, where to put your head, wrapping up, taking care of the little things so you can make those tackles in space.
The explosive running back Jones right into Tavon Coney, the Notre Dame commit, the linebacker. First time we've called his name today. But Tom, you saw it with Baylor. Art Briles scored 83 points the last 2 bowl games and lost both of them.
Yeah, and really when you look at what they're able to do offensively and as explosive as they are, what's got them in trouble, and it got them in trouble in the other loss versus West Virginia, is the inability to run the football when they needed to at the end of the game to run the clock out. And but the space and the pressure and being in Dallas yesterday and watching the Cotton Bowl on the field and looking at how not just vertically but horizontally, and we're seeing that from everybody right now in college football. Even the good defensive football teams, they're creating real issues for teams on offense.
How do you think it evolves next?
Well, everything's generally cyclical. So as we look at a big run right here.
Damian Harris across the 20.
For Damian Harris, you know, we've seen the option principles come back now in the form of the zone read. Really the single wing is what that is now in old school football. And, you know, everybody's going towards, you know, a 3-man front or the 3-5-3 stack, trying to get more speed on the field so they don't have to substitute. Oh, it is a real challenge right now. Too many athletes.
Well, what we're seeing is a transition to the bigger corners. We see here with Kevin Tolliver II, Iman Marshall, Kendall Sheffield, big but athletic to match up with the receivers, and then on a position that it remains important, defensive line. You saw it yesterday when Baylor was trying to, they had the ball last. What did Michigan State do? They had those guys up front that got after the quarterback. Yep. They were able to sack Bryce Petty. If you got a great defensive line and you can rotate in some fresh bodies and keep pressure on the quarterback, it's hard to throw the ball when you can't get set consistently.
Barnett bracketed, and Jalen Dalton crashed down again. So what does that do, as you're talking about that, what does it do to recruiting as you watch guys coming through? What's the position of need?
Well, it's not even so much the position of need. As we talk about the style of play right now, and whether it's offense, defense, people are using that as a recruiting tool. You know, why wouldn't you want to come play in this type of scheme? Or why wouldn't you want to be a wide receiver in this offense. And then even defensively, you see so many people selling the NFL, selling player development. And, you know, some of these programs, you know, right now, if you look at Ohio State and what Urban Meyer is trying to build with that team, look at where he's placed an emphasis. He's placed it on corner on defense, and then within the trenches on defense. Guys like Joey Bosa. And this group that he's trying to put together there in Columbus is one that's trying to be able to compete week in and week out and year out with the elite caliber athletes across college football.
No matter how the game evolves, some of the same basic principles apply. Can you stop the run? Can you get after the quarterback? And can you run the football? I mean, some things never change, and some of those premium positions, you can almost argue, Tom, have even become more premium.
Right.
In the Under Armour game, you look at the totals, 14 and 5 starters for Ohio State.
Yeah, he's got some impactful players, you know, and what we're seeing on hand here, you know, you saw in our opening art and montage, the future. And these guys are now playing more than ever early as freshmen and making an impact. They're being relied upon. And so it's fun to kind of keep track as the years go on and who's making some plays early on in their career.
Here comes Dalton again. Barnett evades him and goes into the end zone looking for his tight end, Garrett Williams, who had an earlier score, and it's 4th down.
What does pressure do to you? He had Ronald Jones to his left, wide open in the flat. If he didn't have pressure, Blake Barnett coming from his left, he would have been able to hook up for an easy score. And you're going to see Ronald Jones go to your left outside the screen, and just that pressure forced Barnett to roll out.
There's that sneaky athleticism, though, Craig. You see him buy some time. He doesn't have to be the runner, but if you're capable of being a runner, boy, does it change how people defend you.
So 4th down, they'll go for it. No need for the field goal. Waning moment, 6:31 to go. And another free runner. It kicks away from Jones, and it's incomplete. So, again, you talked about it. The defensive lines are really owning the day-to-day. 39-6 your score.
Well, you know, Jason,
we'll hit on that coming back about the defensive lines. Guys like Shai Tuttle. A decision for Kendall Sheffield on the way after this. We've already heard of where some players are going to go for their college. We'll check in for another Under Armour player announcement down to the lounge and Matt Schick.
Thank you, Jason. Our last one of the night, top 10 prospect, number 8 overall, number 3 corner, Kendall Sheffield, out of the state of Texas. Got the whole family here. You're down between Texas A&M, Alabama, LSU, and Florida State. Take it away. Where are you going to college?
First, I want to thank God and all the schools that offered me and my family. But I will be going to the University of Alabama.
Kid from Texas going to Alabama. Second commit of the night. Both commits in the top 50. What was it about the time?
Once I got there, the atmosphere was good. The coaches are good, and I enjoyed myself up there.
Your 2-sport star as well. Track coach getting a good one. What are you going to run there?
I won the hurdles.
State champ, 110-meter hurdles, 300-meter hurdles. As a junior, Gatorade State Player of the Year as a junior in the state of Texas. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Going to join fellow Under Armour All-American Minka Fitzpatrick at corner there in Tuscaloosa. Guys,
you have to love the gloves, right?
Well, what you have to love is it was a rough night for Alabama. We want to talk about a great next day. They add a monster defensive lineman. And then what did we talk about earlier? How do you make a number 1 class better? Right. Add a premier corner.
Sure. You know, and we know there were 2 premier corners added in last year's class, Tony Brown, Marlon Humphrey. And now with Kendall Sheffield, that's another addition. Again, a premium position. You get some perimeter guys on the defense. I think there's been a lot of criticism this year of Alabama's defense, particularly in the secondary. You want to try and alleviate those woes.
Blake Barnett was a pretty happy cheerleader over there as Tyron Johnson goes into Crawford for a 1st down.
And you got a glimpse of the updated top 10 there. USC, who kicked everything off by adding Ronald Jones, as well as Texas, who, after adding Malik Jefferson today, was able to bring in linebacker Anthony Wheeler. Both those teams were able to move into the top 10, and when a number 1 team adds 300 players, they stay at number 1. That math is easy.
It's easy math, right?
Yeah.
Can anybody catch Florida? Can anybody catch Alabama now? Can Florida State catch them?
Yeah, I think it's possible because you're still looking at Brian Cowart, 5-star.
Looked like it was on the turf. We'll see.
Did he make that play? He did.
Darrell Williams pulled it off the turf for his second interception.
This ball's tipped at the line of scrimmage by Byron Cowart, number 99 there, and what a play to come down with this ball. Now again, there is no, oh, that's a catch. I think that's a catch, guys, even though there is no instant replay here tonight. Oh, maybe not from that angle.
The tip of the ball looked like he got an assist from the turf. Nonetheless, an outstanding effort.
How about that? That's an Auburn guy and an Alabama guy talking on the sideline. We're bringing teams together.
Yeah. You know,
so 39-6 team highlight, and they'll get it back. Under 6 to go. You might want to have one of the quarterbacks from in this game take some snaps coming up tomorrow.
Oh, man, the poor Cardinals to have the season they've had and be able to weather the storm at the quarterback position. Unfortunately, they come limping into the playoffs. You know, talk about weathering the storm at the quarterback position. That's exactly what Ohio State did, and they found themselves in the national championship.
Great agility by Damian Harris, and he is in for a dazzling touchdown of 36 yards.
Daylon Mack is going to explode off the ball and get initial penetration, but Harris able to get by him, then make a little move and gets a block downfield and takes it in. And the uncommitted number 2 rated running back Harris.
Hey, listen, we heard Herm Edwards, the head coach for Team Highlight, say, don't look at the scoreboard, I'll tell you when to stop scoring. And that's a message to his team to keep competing. Apparently, Team Armour didn't get that same message because they have not played with the same fire and intensity that Team Highlight has here tonight.
See the touchdown from Damian Harris. Here's a guy who's still undecided. And Craig, when we had his high school, he was talking about what Kentucky has done to jump back into his recruiting and show some face there.
Absolutely. The job that Stoops has done at Kentucky helped them get back in the mix for a very important in-state target, but also Alabama, eventually Ohio State still in the mix for him. So really a lot to be decided there. And Harris may be the most well-rounded of this group. I think you would look at Patrick as the grinder and Ronald Jones as the game breaker, and maybe Damian Harris, the most well-rounded running back of these guys.
Let's tell you about our player of the game tonight. It's brought to you by Under Armour, and sure, the Team Armour is down 46-6, but our player of the game is going to come from that defensive side, and it's big Daylon Mack.
Well, he deserves it. He's not on the winning side tonight, but his performance in terms of production and execution and impactful plays, Craig, I don't think there's any question you could argue he's one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult player to handle one-on-one for anybody here tonight.
Absolutely. That first step quickness was impressive, and then you put into the mix the power that he has and that just compact, powerful frame. Whether he was just holding at the point of attack or bursting into the backfield to disrupt plays, he truly was a disruptive force tonight.
To the backfield for most of the night when he was in the game, and now Team Armour will get it back again. This is Tyron Johnson, who's announced in this game that he's headed to LSU to play wide receiver and joining a core that's fairly young and could use some explosiveness. But here's what Daylon Mack's done tonight.
Well, if the 5-star wasn't highly coveted before kickoff, he surely is now. As you just look at that burst off the ball, fires out low consistently, as you mentioned. He might as well have lined up at running back. He was in the backfield so much tonight, creating fumbles, just overall wreaking havoc. And you're right, it was not a good day for Team Armour, but the effort put forth by Daylon Mack, he certainly gave them some opportunities to make some big plays.
When you talk about a defensive lineman firing out low, what do you mean by that?
Pad level, you don't want to stand straight up. You want to maximize that lower body power.
Kyler Murray hitting the backfield. Nicely done by Roquan Smith.
No matter what game you watch, Tom, in a situation like this, and even in an all-star game, you want to try to learn so much about these guys, and everything is an opportunity to evaluate somebody. How do they respond? Obviously, all-star event, a lot of fun, but when you're down by by a sizable margin. Maybe not as much fun, but who wants to compete? Who still wants to make a play?
Murray to Cordell Broadus, his second grab. Both in the second half. That was Iman Marshall. We've talked about him a little bit in passing. One of the top corners still on the board.
He's an explosive guy with size. He's a corner that's built like a safety. And, you talked earlier, Craig, about the bigger, taller corner that can match up on the perimeter, hold up on one-on-one in the red area for the big jump ball. He can certainly play all that and more.
What has really impressed me throughout the week about Iman Marshall, a 5-star out of Long Beach Poly in California, is the ability to take coaching from the coach's mouth into his ears and then transfer it to his play on the field. He takes coaching well, and very talented young man, but willing to get better, wanting to get better, and being able to take those tips and execute it.
Miscommunication there from Kyler Murray and Tyron Johnson. Murray thought he was going to have the speed out and threw it as such, and Tyron Johnson turned it up the sideline. And again, it's kind of the story of the evening for this team. Miscommunication, lack of execution, just couldn't get on the same page. I want to make a note too, there's tight end there, Petit, who earlier I stated had been verbally committed to Stanford. I meant USC out of the Pac-12. Wanted to make that correction.
Duke decommit, then over to USC in the Pac-12. Murray on fourth down, well high, and a turnover on downs. He was looking for Johnson, the new LSU commit. American Family Insurance is a proud sponsor of the Under Armour All-America game, and this is a group of athletes that wants to dream. Both of you have been part of this game as it's grown. What do you see from the players that they gain off the field during this week?
Well, the ability to get around other players who are very much in the same situation they are. The recruiting process, especially for these players who are amongst the best in the nation, it can be dizzying, if not even overwhelming. And it's important to have a strong support system around you, and not just in football, but in life. And then also to kind of have a plan for the future as well. What happens when the air goes out of the football and you can no longer play? What type of person do you want to be? What type of contribution do you want to make?
The thing that stands out to me as well is from the moment they arrive, we introduce them to media coverage. Put a light in their face, a microphone in their face. Have them start to understand some of the responsibilities they're going to have at the next level as a student athlete in the world of college football. Trying to prepare them for how to handle themselves, how to deal with all of that. We see so much in the social media world now of guys not understanding how to handle things like that. So we try and introduce that as well from the moment they arrive at Walt Disney World.
What's some of the feedback you've gotten from players that have come through the game about their experience?
We've had on multiple occasions players come back to us, particularly guys who are early enrollee players, say, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I wouldn't have known what to expect in terms of how steep the jump was. And that's what we hope to accomplish throughout the week.
Big hit again by that defensive line, and Deron Payne, Dalen Mack were in there, and we've talked about Mack as somebody who's still deciding between a couple of schools leading up to National Signing Day, February 4th. A lot of guys making some very important choices.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting home stretch run towards National Signing Day on the 4th, and you look at the calendar, the All-Star season, always big, very big part of the process as far as learning more about the players and getting that final rankings evaluation in. And then you start to get answers. You know, the weekend of the 16th of January is the first big visit weekend. 3 left till signing day. As you always talk about momentum, and big thing in recruiting is having the last visit.
Right.
Being able to make the last impression, getting the last home visit as programs and coaches kind of jostle for positioning to get those targets and make that final pitch, because once National Signing Day comes, we know it can be crazy. Anything can happen. But it's finally the day once those letters of intent go through the fax machine, or they email them through as we slowly move towards the future of electronics. Yeah.
But you still use LPs too for your music? Let's go downstairs, check in with Matt Schick.
Yeah, guys, here with Jerry Hamilton, a guy who's not have a fax machine but does have a Twitter account. And Jerry, you got your ear to the ground, talk to these prospects. 6 commits tonight. 2 of them go to Alabama. What does this mean in the grand scheme of recruiting?
I think what it really means is Alabama's going to lock up the #1 class for an unprecedented 4th straight year. Before today, Florida State had an outside chance to catch the Crimson Tide, but I really think with 5-star Kendall Sheffield, number 50 Deron Payne committing to Alabama, and other targets still on the board, such as running back Damian Harris, I think Alabama has pretty much got #1 locked up for an unprecedented 4th straight year.
We're a little more than a month away from National Signing Day. What are the things we need to be watching for down the stretch?
I think one of the big ones is Terry Beckner. Where's #1 going? Big number 78 tonight. He officially visited Florida State. He loved the Florida State official visit. He has Ohio State January 23rd and Missouri January 30th. And going into this season, Florida State and Missouri were really the top 2. This is a big recruitment for Barry Odom, the new defensive coordinator at Missouri. Can he close out Beckner close to home and beat Florida State? If he does, that's a huge perception win for the Tigers. But Florida State has a very good chance here.
Follow him on Twitter. What's your handle, by the way?
Hamilton ESPN.
He's got the latest Our Seen and Heard Insider on Recruiting Nation on ESPNU, guys.
You get 10% of his followers for tossing it in there, Matt?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, what's 10% of 0?
Oh. It's out of principle.
A couple of kneel downs, and a team highlight's going to run away with this, but we've seen some great individual performances. What do you take away at first blush from this game today?
That the week matters more than the game, and it always has. From our standpoint, to evaluate players for 3.5, 4 days of practice, for 3 hours a day, see how they interact with one another, see how they respond. To me, that's the ultimate point of all of this, because it's one thing to watch these guys perform against one another when they're so superior to the competition. It's another to see this type of environment, which I enjoy. The game was great. The kids fought hard. Obviously, Team Armour with the most dominant, or Team Highlight with the most dominant performance, Greg, that we've had in the 8 years of the game.
Yeah, Team Highlight certainly gelled better today and put forth a better team performance. As you mentioned, throughout the practices, throughout the week, you really got to learn a lot about these players. You've seen some great performances, individually, both by Team Armour and Team Highlight. You get to learn more about these players off the field and really just kind of get a feel for who are the most well-rounded prospects. Not just well-rounded football players, but most well-rounded prospects, and a lot of opportunities to get to know these kids and really just kind of put together a little bit clearer picture in the evaluation process.
The running backs for Team Highlight had some eye-popping numbers today. 27 carries combined, 196 yards for Damian Harris, and Ronald Jones II, who committed earlier to USC as our first of 6 in this game. They scored a couple of touchdowns, and maybe were the most impressive skill players on that side.
Well, there's no question. To see the run game get going in an all-star game, I love to see that, because that's difficult to do, as we've talked about with the difficulties in the offensive line. And, for the entire week, these kids arrive at Walt Disney World, and they've got so many fun things to do. We want it to be about fun. Under Armour's done such a fantastic job of putting them in a position to have a once-in-a-lifetime experience here. And then between the 10 hours of television that across the 2 different networks, it's a great week for us.
And already a bright future for the 2016 Under Armour All-American game. You look at some of the prospects. #1 overall in the ESPN Junior 300, Greg Little. He blocked for Kyler Murray this year at Allen High School. And a lot of those players here as a part of the Elite 50 experience. And from 2008 to all the way through 2015, now a bright future for next year. Already a lot of great players on board.
This is a perfect opportunity, a game like this, to see the top 2 players in the country together with Matt Schick.
Yeah, guys, #2 overall player Byron Cowart, #1 overall player Terry Beckner Jr., both uncommitted at this point. Byron, let's start with you. I know you wanted to make a statement out here. What kind of statement did you make?
Is that I can be consistent. I personally feel like I could have did better on some plays, but hey, I just wanted to show that I could play with top talent, man.
You got Auburn, Florida, and Florida State are in your top 3. Got a month to go till signing day. What's the next month look like for you?
A lot of visits. I got, I think, Florida on the 23rd. I think Florida State on the 30th, and then we'll try to squeeze Auburn in there.
When do you expect to make a decision?
Sign it. Yes, sir.
National signing, we'll find out. Best luck to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, #1 overall prospect, Terry Beckner Jr. What did this whole week mean to you as the #1 prospect?
It was a great experience. I really enjoyed myself with all these players. It was a great team effort. Everybody came together. Within 3 days, we did a very good job.
I know you've been asked it all week. A month away, a little more than a month to go till National Signing Day. What's the latest with Terry Beckner Jr.?
I'm still undecided, but I have like 3 visits coming up. January 23rd, I have Ohio State. Then January the 3rd, I have Mizzou. And on the 16th, I'm gonna try to squeeze either Auburn or Oregon. I'm still deciding on which one.
When it comes down to it at the end, what's going to be your biggest factor in your decision?
The relationship that I build with the coach and my education, make sure that I have that.
Terry Beckner Jr., #1 prospect. We'll find out where he's going soon enough. Guys?
Thank you there, Matt. You take a look at both of those players, what they have in front of them. Terry Beckner, Ohio State, Missouri. And then you heard Byron Cowart talk about Auburn, Florida State, Florida. The common denominator with those 4 is they're all trying to get that next great defensive lineman. With Ohio State, it's been Joey Bosa. Missouri, it's been Sheldon Richardson, Shane Ray, Marcus Golden. At Auburn, can you imagine if Byron Cowart and Carl Lawson were playing next to each other? We know Florida State and Florida has had great success on the defensive front. So I'm a Marshall there as well as Roquan Smith, Craig. A lot of choices to be made here down the stretch to National Signing Day.
Yeah, we got a lot of answers still to come, and much can change. We've learned that nothing is certain in recruiting until those letter of intents come through.
So Team Highlight gets a big win today, 46-6, but 99 of the top 300 players, including Dalen Mack, Byron Cowart. A great day for high school, then college football. Ronald Jones made the first choice. We saw 6 commitments in our coverage. Don't forget, coming up next, NFL Live, right here, presented by Walmart. Join us on ESPNU, 8 a.m. Eastern, February 4th for National Signing Day. Good night from St. Pete.